Live? Okay, welcome. Today is Wednesday, December the 2nd, 2020. This is a regular meeting of the Pitkin County Board of Commissioners. I'm Patty Clapper. I'm a member of the Board of Commissioners. I'm in the meeting room with John Peacock, County Manager, with staff who's helping us in grassroots, helping us do our techno part of the meeting. And on the Zoom meeting, we have Steve Child, Chairman of the Board, Kelly McNicholas Curry, Vice Chairman of the Board, Greg Postman, and George Newman. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Steve, who will be chairing it from the comfort of his house in Old Snowmass. So Steve, go ahead. Steve, you are muted. There you go.
I just realized that. It tells me right away on my screen. So welcome everybody to a beautiful Wednesday Bluebird Sky Ski Day that all of us are missing because we're in this meeting. And if you are watching it, you were probably missing the skiing also. So first of all, I know we have one addition to the agenda, and Rye, could you tell us about that?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, the addition to the agenda, or the requested addition to the agenda, is an emergency ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners amending ordinance 02-19 regarding the purchase of the Sunfire Ranch conservation easement. If it's okay with the board, I would add that either immediately before or immediately after the existing Sunfire Ranch item on the agenda today. So that would be item 7 is the current Sunfire item. So add this as either 8 or a new 8 or a new 6 would be my preference.
How about 7B?
So let's call it 7B and put it immediately after the part about the conservation easement.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Rye. So we need a motion to add that.
I will move to approve.
I'll second the addition.
Okay, Patty moved and Kelly seconded to add that item to be 7B about Sunfire Ranch. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, that one is added. Okay, at this time, we can ask for public comments. If you wish to comment about something that is not on the agenda, and I'll point out to the public that we will be having public comment later on about the conservation easement for Sunfire Ranch, and I believe possibly about the emergency ordinance we just added, as well as the airport ASC Vision Committee recommendations. Those will be the last two things on our agenda today. So if you wish to make a public comment now, you need to phone in on the number that's at the top of our agenda, and it's also should be showing up on the grassroots feed. And let's see who we have. I see that there are 4 numbers on here. So let me first of all go to the number ending in 8797. And if you could unmute yourself if you wish to speak, you have your hand raised.
Yes, sir. My name is Lee Mulcahy. I'm grateful for many, many things. And I would just like to address, the vice chair made a statement, and she said that I find it laughable that Lee Mulcahy was critical of executive sessions. And to that statement, I would like to read a statement from Justice Brandeis, a United States Supreme Court justice, and he stated, "Decency, security, and liberty alike demand that government officials shall be subjected to the same rules of conduct that are commands to the citizen. In a government of laws, existence of the government will be imperiled if it fails to observe the law scrupulously. If the government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt for the law. It invites every man to become a law unto himself. It invites anarchy. And I'm super, super grateful. David BOCC today, he was saying that George Newman was on the radio was saying was throwing a bunch of knives. And I would just point out, I'm super, super grateful that the chair of this board stated in the Aspen Times on Friday, October 16th, I think APSHA needs to treat people better, Child said. I'm on Lee Mulcahy's side. Other people have been treated unfairly. And that led to, on October 30th, a letter to both papers from the fired, terminated director of APSHA. And he stated, from May 18th to September 9th, 2015, APSHA investigated Mulcahy and determined he failed to meet the minimum 1,500 work requirement. I'm so glad that he made that statement. Oddly enough, well, anyway, so he supported the board chair's opponent. But I'm glad he brought those dates up because 6 days after APSHA started their quote-unquote investigation, my father died, and he was the greatest mentor of my life. He taught me everything I know. He was my best friend. And secondly, APSHA, as the court knows, did not decide until the provided October 14th email from the qualifications director, Julie Kiefer, what documents they wanted to show compliance as an artist. So how could an investigation end without, it's so bizarre. And this led to other articles in the paper, notably from Andrew Scott, and he stated the drama unfolding with APSHA attempting to evict people from their homes during a pandemic is an astounding failure to deliver justice to the community they serve. And that led to an article by Paul Minter, a friend of mine, who said last week Aspen Daily News guest columnist Andrew Scott in his November 14th How Will the Curtain Close on APSHA drama took APSHA to task for inconsistently handling 3 roughly contemporaneous rule enforcement issues. Also, in a recent letter to the editor, I'm figuring. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're talking.
Oh, and I'm super. Thank you, Steve. And there's an article in the Aspen High School paper, the Skier Scribbler. We're very grateful for that article.
All right. Thank you for your comments, Lee.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you. The phone number ending in 0731. Do you wish to make a public comment right now? If you wish to make a comment, you could unmute your phone and speak. If you want to speak at one of the later things or just listening, you're
I'm
welcome to do that.
just listening in. I'm just listening in. Thank you. No comment.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I don't see any other phone numbers coming on, so we will close the public comment and go to the commissioners for commissioner comments. Kelly.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just take the opportunity to correct Lee's presentation of what I said at our APSHA meeting. What I had said was it is laughable that Lee would critique the APSHA board's need to go into executive session to obtain legal advice on the repetitive lawsuits that he continues to bring. So I want the board to understand the context for that completely. And, that's all I'll have to say at this point. I hope everyone had a safe Thanksgiving.
Steve?
Patty?
Yeah, I too hope everyone had a safe Thanksgiving and that their gatherings were small and full of great food. But I want to encourage people between now and till we don't know when this will end, to continue to stay safe, to gather if you need to and feel you have to in small family household groups. It's really critical if we want to keep our numbers down that people don't engage in large gatherings. That's where we've been finding a lot of our numbers coming from, are these social gatherings that people feel the need to participate in these days. I know it's hard. I know the holiday, real Christmas and New Year's holiday is coming up. Town is going to get busier. We need to be really vigilant in our practices. I really encourage people to really not just themselves take responsibility, but ask that their neighbors, their friends, their guests also take responsibility for their actions and follow the rules. It's not that tough. We can do this. We can do this together. We need to maintain the social distancing, wearing masks, and trying to stay in our homes as much as possible. And if you do go out safely, and try and consolidate your trips outside of the household so you can get your errands done. You don't go to the grocery store 4 times a week. You may go twice or maybe just once. That'll help for exposure rates. So please, everybody, let's participate in this together. Enjoy the snow. We hopefully will be getting more of the real stuff here soon. I know our snowmakers and mountain groomers have been working really hard to ensure that we can take full advantage of the mountains and the terrains that are open. Also be safe on those mountains for many reasons. And everyone, I hope you enjoy this next couple of weeks while town is still relatively quiet and we gear up for the unknown of the holiday. We really aren't certain how busy we will be and how many guests we will have enjoying our beautiful surroundings. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Some commentators have spoken about how the time from Thanksgiving to Christmas is really one big, long holiday, which could become a super spreader event. And Patty spoke very well to that. I urge everybody to take as many precautions as you can. There was a medical doctor from New York early in the pandemic who was not worried about catching the virus, because he said all he needed to do to know that he wasn't going to get it was to always be wearing his mask, washing his hands many, many times during the day, and just taking care of the precautions that we are urging everybody to do. And he felt confident that he would not get the virus just from taking those steps. It's essential that we have a lot of people using personal responsibility to follow the proper precautions, and that is how we can save our season and have a decent ski season where people are able to come to our town for holiday and to go skiing and enjoy our beautiful mountains and scenery around here. So I urge everybody to wash your hands and wear your masks and stay at home as much as possible, like Patty said. Maintain social distance from other people beyond your immediate family bubble. So coming up during December, there will be a performance of The Messiah, and it will be a virtual performance. I don't know what the date it will be released yet, but it's sometime sort of in the middle of December, performed by the Aspen Choral Society and by the orchestra members, all of who have recorded their parts alone in a studio with a microphone and a video camera. And so I'm one of the people who's singing in that. I've already sung The Messiah for all of you. You'll all get to see it at some point. So look for that. It'll be well publicized, I'm pretty sure. So, do any other commissioners have comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our rest of our agenda. First up are the consent items. And I believe we'll take these one at a time because I know there are people on from the senior council who would like to speak to the first one. So the first item is a resolution amending resolution number 0248-2017 and amending the Senior Services Citizen Board Council bylaws. And Charlotte, are you?
I am here.
Oh, there you are. You're front and center in the top of my screen. So Charlotte, why don't you explain this to us?
Thank you, Steve. Patty Kravitz was unable to join us today, so Chad Federwitz, who is the Senior Services Director, is here, along with Amy Throm, who is Chair of the Senior Services Council. They revised their bylaws this past October, I believe it was, and we're now getting those passed as a resolution. So I will let you ask any questions of Chad or Amy, if you like.
I don't know, Chad or Amy, do either one of you wish to speak to this, just to make some comments? You're welcome to.
Okay, this is Amy Throm, and yeah, I will just tell you, when we first talked about this, I had just said to the group, well, we might as well look at our bylaws. We haven't done that, and it's kind of a strange moment, so maybe this is something we can do virtually. And I said, but I have no intent on changing anything. I don't want to make a big mess of this. Let's just look at them. And of course, then we saw a couple things that we felt like really should be updated. So the main thing is that at one point the senior council had some funds that were raised at some point, and we weren't really using them for anything, but we had a treasurer built into our bylaws, and at some point in the last year we found out that actually we couldn't have those funds as a citizens council, so we donated the funds and have no more need for a treasurer, and there won't ever be a need in the future. So that's sort of the main thing that we thought, well, let's get that cleaned up. So that's the first one. And then the second change we made was just clearing up how we will make amendments to our bylaws. And the third piece, Alpine Area Agency on Aging has changed its name to Vintage. So we thought that would get outdated over time in the bylaws. And those are the three changes we're proposing.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions from the board? Okay, would I entertain a motion for approval of this?
So moved. Hi, Kelly.
I'll second.
Okay, Patty moved, Kelly seconded. Any further discussion? I'll say I was attending the meeting, the virtual meetings, and I agree with the changes that the senior council proposed. They all are logical, totally make sense. It really cleans up some things that were improper in the bylaws. So, Greg?
I just wanted to thank Amy. It sounds as if you decided to take a look at that boilerplate that people just kind of pass by a lot of the time because we see it so often. So thank you for paying attention and moving it along, even though you didn't intend to stir up, kick the hornet's nest.
Okay, thank you, Greg. All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Okay, we're all in favor. Thank you, Chad, and thank you,
Thanks,
Amy, for being with. Next on the agenda, we have a resolution to partner with Colorado Mountain College in applying for and distributing the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship 2019-2020 Matching Fund Scholarship. And we have Charlotte still here, and then Ed Chusid from CMC. So Charlotte, why don't I hand it over to you first?
Thank you, Steve. This is an annual item that we do, and as you mentioned, Ed is here to answer any questions if there are any. And this is for applying for and distributing those Colorado Opportunity Scholarships.
So Steve, I have a question.
Yeah, Patty?
Yeah, is it, Charlotte, this is something we do on an annual basis, correct? We've been doing this. It's just that now we're just kind of cleaning it up, and CMC's going to take over the, be the fiscal agent for the county with the matching funds. So I think this is something that we've always appreciated and have always approved in the past, and I see no reason why not to move it forward in the future. And thank you, CMC.
Thank you. We're honored to partner with Pittman County once again and to help out your students.
Great, thanks.
Okay, we need a motion on this. There's no further discussion.
I will go ahead and move to approve the resolution to partner with CMC in applying for and distributing the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship 2019-2020 Matching Fund Scholarship.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Kelly and seconded by Greg. And is there any further discussion? And I will just say commend CMC for making this scholarship available for students, and we're glad to partner with you on lots of occasions on things. So, all in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, we're all in favor of that. Thank you very much. Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, Ed. Next, we're going to individual consideration items, first readings, and these are set for second reading and public hearing on December 15th. So these are both having to do with the budget. First is a resolution concerned with the adoption of the budget and appropriations of funds for the fiscal year 2021. That's huge, approving the budget for the year. That's huge. In a few words, it says it. Second, resolution of the board levying general property taxes for 2020 to help defray the costs of government and its special districts for fiscal year 2021. So we will deal with the first item first, the adoption of the budget. So Connie Baker, let me hand it over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This budget process for 2021 has certainly been different than many other years, as has a lot of other things in our lives. We've dealt with a high degree of uncertainty for our economy and for our revenue projections. So with that in mind, we proposed a 2021 budget that includes very conservative revenue estimates. And this is in order to keep our county on a firm financial footing going forward, not knowing what might happen and when the pandemic will come to an end. And as we go through the course of 2021, we will, of course, keep you updated on a quarterly basis on how our actual revenues are performing compared to this budget. On the expenditure side of the budget, departments across the county did really a great job in trimming back their budgets in many areas, and that's what made it possible to present this budget to you in the form that it is. So I want to give a big shout out to all of the different departments for the huge amount of work that they put into this. Although we trim back on some expenditures, we have not cut our essential county services or our capacity to deliver those services. In fact, in some areas, we've enhanced them in public health and in human services, most notably, as we continue to provide for COVID response and recovery efforts. The budget also includes projects and budget lines to move the needle forward on many of the board's top priorities. This proposed 2021 budget complies with the county's budget policy, which is to adopt a balanced 5-year plan for the general fund. And this plan projects an average annual surplus in the general fund of over $1 million over the course of this 5-year plan. And then we use part of that surplus to fund capital projects. For all county funds, the proposed 2021 budget is $141,660,928 net of interfund transfers. So those are just the expenditures. This is actually a slight decrease from 2021, or from 2020. Our total appropriations, which include interfund transfers, are $154,059,252. This budget maintains health fund balances. For all county funds, the projected ending fund balance for 2021 is $81.1 million. And that is 64% of operational expenditures. And remember, we compare this with an average of 2 months of operational expenditures, which would be 16.7%. So you can tell we are way above that. And then in the general fund, we project an ending fund balance of $10.2 million, or 31% of expenditures. So again, this budget shows that Picken County remains strong fiscally. Now, there is one last-minute change to the budget that is not included in your packet materials today. And this change will be included in the second reading of the budget resolution. We discovered earlier this week that the pretrial services contract was not included in the budget. This only affects the Human Services Fund. It is $125,000, and so we will be adding that in. You will see the change just in the Human Services Fund on second resolution. Any questions?
So there was one letter that we received from one of our constituents objecting to the fact that the commissioners agreed to give bonuses or make bonuses available for employees at the same time as turning down not a pay raise. And I've thought about that a lot, because their point was that a lot of citizens have lost their jobs or making do on less income than they have before. And then when I was thinking about what county employees have been doing to keep the county operating during the pandemic, and many of them working way more hours than they have worked normally would be working because of the pandemic. I'm really proud of how the county employees have stepped up to the plate and are really doing a good job, and I think many of them probably will be recommended by their evaluation annual review of their performance, that they deserve to get a bonus this year of all years, because they have done extraordinary work above and beyond the call of duty in many cases. Commissioners don't get a pay raise unless we get reelected, but I have chosen this year, I've increased my donations to many nonprofits in the Valley this year, realizing that, you know, I have a secure job and I'm getting paid regularly, and many people are hurting. And so I am, in effect, reducing my own personal income and donating it to nonprofits that can distribute it to people who are really desperate for some food and, just sometimes help with the rent or different very important things. So, in conclusion, I think that we are justified in giving, approving the bonuses for employees. It doesn't mean they automatically get it, but it's the possibility is there for them to get their bonuses. And I'll stop there.
Do you have a comment? Yeah, I have a comment. I want to just add that not only were employees working, it was a difficult time to rearrange their homes and their schedules at home and their lives at home, but there were a lot of employees that helped us out in other departments. For example, the library people helped us out with some of our other issues with public health, with administration of grants that we were funding that we were giving out to people in need. They came over and helped us with our IT here in the administration building. So a lot of people kind of cross-trained on a very quick basis and are still doing so to help us with contact tracing. So they kind of stepped out of their norms in work in a lot of ways, and we really appreciate that. So it's not a lot that we will be giving. It's just kind of a way for the Board of Commissioners to say thank you to a job more than well done by so many of our county employees. So, and then back to the budget itself, I want to thank Connie. You do an amazing job every year. I know that we're wrapping this up for this year, and within a couple weeks you'll be starting over again for next year, and we appreciate your efforts. And Ann, thank you. Thank you. All your departments have done a great job working with all the other departments across the board. And on a personal note, from my aspect, what I really look for in the budget, as everyone knows, is employees, the employee generation, the full-time equivalents. Now we have a lot of temps or term limited as we're, so I just appreciate the attention you gave to provide the BOCC, especially me, that information. And we'll be looking at a lot of those positions over this next year to see if they've done their job and they're done with the work for the county, or if we need to continue them for 6 months or 12 months or 18 months into the future. I really appreciate that. We had very few new requests come forward for full-time equivalent or any real, and those that are part of the budget moving forward were well vetted and found to be necessary and appropriate. So I really appreciate that effort. It really helps me move forward with the budget. So thank you again for your part in doing a job more than well done.
Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, hi. I think I'll just tag on to what Patty said. I appreciate what you said, Patty. I'm just grateful we're in a position where we're actually able to recognize the hard work of our employees, and that we have an amazing, stellar staff who can keep this whole big thing going for us. So yes, kudos to Ann and Connie for the work you do. I don't know how you do it, but I'm certainly appreciative. I think that we're all just grateful to have work and to have a budget where we can provide jobs. And I'll leave it at that. I'm thinking that how lucky we are in this community that we can actually keep things going, at least for the time being, so well. I just have great gratitude for that. I want to thank our staff, and I want them to know I really do appreciate everybody's hard work.
Kelly?
Thanks. Yeah, I will echo the great thanks to staff for guiding us through this, because it is a very detailed and long, laborious process. My comments will take a bit of a different tact, because I think, as we've just observed over the last year, it's hard to really take a broad stroke view on our community's economy and on, I think, our county's budget. And so we've seen that, the local economy has not been affected equally. The local economy has not all shared the same burden in responding to COVID. And I think because in a way the county is sort of a neutralizer of all those effects, we've had some of the benefit of how portions of the economy have done well, have allowed us to remain healthy, and that we are able to retain a very healthy budget and healthy fund balance that we can hopefully continue to help balance out the negative effects that are that have burdened certain segments of our economy and our communities. And I know we're going to continue to look to how we do that in 2021, and we're well positioned to do that with a healthy budget. You know, similarly within our budget, we have portions of our budgets that structurally are very, very healthy and have dedicated funds that let them run with all the work. And we have other portions of our budget which suffer from some structural weaknesses that we have to figure out how to take the money that is available to shift around to address those. And we've seen that with public safety, with our road and bridge, you know, with really some of our core functions as a county. And so it's just a bit of a microcosm about what's happening in our community is also happening with our budget. And we have to continue to keep an eye on what are the ways that we can, you know, spread out the burden and help, you know, ensure that all of our departments are providing the same excellent service. And I expect that we'll continue having those conversations in 2021 as well. So thank you again, and I'm proud to support this budget, and I support our bonuses for our employees because, you know, they are how all of our vision and goals get achieved. So my thanks to the whole staff as well.
So does anyone care to make a motion? This is first reading, of course, setting it for second reading on December 15th and the public hearing on December 15th.
So Steve, we have two resolutions. Connie and Ann, which one? Is there one we need to do first and one do we need to do second? Because I know we have the mill levy.
Yes. Yes, the budget adoption and appropriation needs to come first.
Okay, so I will make a motion to approve a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners concerned with the adoption of the budget and appropriation of funds for fiscal year 2021.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Patty, seconded by Greg. Is there any further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And now I will make a second motion.
You know, wait a minute. We need to have a presentation on the
mill levy?
on the.
I was just
levy
moving us along,
property
Ann.
tax.
I got it right here in front of me.
So keep that thought, Patty. And we'll hand it on to Connie and Ann, whoever's going to explain the second part of this item.
Yeah, I'll do my best to explain the mill levies. My name is Ann Driggers, Finance Director and Treasurer, Public Trustee. So the mill levies essentially are defray or set to collect property taxes. This is for the property taxes for 2020 that you will collect in 2021. So the mill levy is for 2021, but it's the valuation and the property taxes from 2020. I emailed you last night the proposed mill levies and property taxes for Pitkin County's funds, the General Fund, Road and Bridge Fund, Human Services Fund, the TV and FM Translator Fund, Healthy Community Fund, Open Space and Trails Fund, and then our special districts, the Pitkin County Library, the Aspen Ambulance District, Twining Flats GID, and Redstone Ranch Acres GID. Those are all the funds that levy property tax. The total property tax that we will be collecting in 2021 for all those funds is $32,229,700. This is based upon the amended certified values which we received from the assessor just a couple of days ago, for which I'm grateful. Typically, our state statute does not require that they are presented to the county and the districts until December 10th, which of course falls just right before your second reading, but we have them now. So the numbers that I emailed to you last night in the resolution and Exhibit A are the correct ones. The ones in the AIS were based upon the preliminary assessed valuation. Would you like me to bring up the Exhibit A and have a look at it?
Sorry, could we share that on the screen for? I looked at it. Maybe all the commissioners didn't see it come in their email, but this way the public can see it too.
Can you see it on my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, great. So there you can see each of the funds listed. The first column shows the assessed valuation, the amended one, most recently received. Then we have the gross mill levy, which is the amount of mill levy that we are authorized to collect, the total, and for each it's different. Some of it done by ballot initiative, others by the commissioners themselves. Then the refunds are for those where we overcollected in previous years. Some of these funds you can collect only by the amount of new construction and inflation. That's typically the TABOR calculation that restricts us. And so we always overcollect by as little as we can, but to make sure we don't undercollect. So we return overcollections from previous years. That brings us to our net mill levy. And then the mill levy abatements are where properties have had tax abated through the appeal process. And we add them back in because we did not collect them in previous years. So our total is right down at the bottom there is $32,229,700.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Any questions from the commissioners to Ann about this process and the figures? This is something we do annually, and you know, it's a kind of refreshing our memory how the process works every year at this time. Kelly.
Yeah, I do need a little refresher. Help me understand again, I'm sorry if I missed it, but how the mill levy reductions happen, the temporary.
So we are not allowed to exceed the increase allowed by TABOR for all funds except for the ambulance district and open space and trails, who have a set mill levy. And in order to preserve our previous authorization, for example, in the general fund, we take what's called a temporary mill levy credit, reducing the amount of the gross mill levy which we have originally authorized to the amount that we're permitted to collect in for TABOR.
So the alternate would be you'd collect it all and then you'd have to refund a portion.
Correct.
We didn't do this, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So, Steve, I have a question.
Patty.
Yeah, so can you clarify then for me and actually for the public, we have another mill levy issue coming forward for us for a reading on the 15th or no, 22nd. We set a special meeting. Can you explain so the public understands that is for the other districts?
Absolutely. So within Pitkin County, I think there are, including ourselves, 53 different districts or municipalities which are levy property taxes. And they're all going through the same process right now of approving their budgets and approving their mill levies by December 15th, just like we are right now. And then state statute requires that all of those mill levies are submitted to the county, and then the Board of County Commissioners certifies all of the mill levies to be collected by their county treasurer, which is then submitted to the Department of Local Affairs at the state. And by certifying all of the mill levies for the other districts, you're saying, here, county treasurer, you're authorized to collect these property taxes on behalf of all the districts and municipalities in Pitkin County.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ann, for the explanations. Patty, do you want to make your motion now that you started?
Yes, I would love to. I will make a motion to approve a resolution levying general property taxes for the fiscal year 2021. I believe that's the title on the, to help defray the cost of government and its special districts for fiscal year 2021.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Patty, seconded by Greg. Is there further discussion by the board? Seeing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Okay, and keep in mind that we'll get another look at this on December 15th, and the public can make comments at that time also. Okay, thank you, Ann and Connie. Connie, you're up next anyhow. So next is first reading set for public hearing on December 16th. That brings up a question in my mind here, but we'll get to that in a minute. So it's a resolution to approve fourth quarter budget supplemental requests. And Connie, I'll hand it over to you.
Yes, we are required by state statute to approve the 2021 budget and the mill levies by December 15th. So the board will have a special meeting at the work session on December 15th, special meeting and public hearing on the Tuesday in order to meet the state statutory deadline for those two resolutions. And then have the normal resolutions that don't have that kind of requirement the following day in the regular meeting on the 16th. This resolution for budget supplementals, yesterday many staff members were present in your work session. They presented their supplemental requests and answered questions. So hopefully this is all fresh in your minds. This resolution increases the county's 2020 budgeted expenditures by $11,531,795. This is offset by an increase in budgeted revenues of $36,954,730. That means a net decrease in budget of $25,422,935. Now these amounts sound like they're quite large amounts, but remember that about 3/4 of these dollar amounts are related to the bond issuances, both the refunding of the sales tax revenue bonds, and then also the issuance of $20 million in open space and trails bonds, and also the CARES Act appropriations. So those two are the largest of all of the supplemental requests before you today, making up about 3/4 of that total. The other requests include 5 different grants, and these grant requests either are net zero impact to the budget or in some cases a gain to the budget. One is a Northwest COG Economic Development Grant, and that's in the general fund. There is the Protect Our Neighbors grant in the Public Health Fund, and then 3 grants in the Human Services Fund, an Access and Functional Needs grant, an increase for the Supplemental Nutrition Program, that's an allocation through the state, and then the ESG CD2 grant. This is for emergency shelter and homelessness. Other supplemental requests include in the Healthy Rivers and Streams Fund, the Robinson Ditch Modification Project, Redstone Ranch road grading, an increase in the cost of the ambulance service. In the Housing Fund, the purchase of a deed-restricted unit and a transfer from the general fund. Then cost allocation plan, overhead cost increases. And in the Public Safety Radio Fund, a one-time general fund transfer. Hopefully all of these were reviewed thoroughly yesterday, but if you have any follow-up questions, please let me know.
So, yeah, we did go through them very thoroughly yesterday, and I don't have any further questions. Anybody else have any questions? So I'll just make a comment that if we could decrease our budget by 25 million this easily by getting so many different grants and issuing bonds, we should do it all the time, maybe. Isn't that right, Connie? So it makes our bottom line look much better. Realizing, of course, that we have to pay back the bond issue, and it's not all free money to us. Kelly?
I would just note that there's a couple of programs in this that really have stood out to me for folks who are listening now and maybe missed the discussion yesterday that I want to highlight, because you know, a lot of this new money lets us do new things, right? So 2 of the things that I think are just really extraordinary work our staff is doing is the outreach to the Latino community regarding COVID, and you know, that's a $200,000 program that they've undertaken already to really figure out the best ways to collaborate with and communicate with our Latino communities who have been disproportionately burdened by COVID illness. And so I think that's just a great additional effort by our public health staff to fill a real need. And additionally, you know, a $500,000 program to expand outreach and work on housing solutions, particularly for the homeless population, the ability to do rapid rehousing, and some supportive housing with case management. That you know, these are needs that have existed in the community, and you know, through the great effort of staff to chase down these funds, have been able to stand up new programming to help some really vulnerable populations. So I want to highlight that work for anyone who's listening now, and you know, thanks to Connie and for staff for bringing that in and able to facilitate that.
Okay, does anyone care to make a motion on this?
Steve, I'll make a motion to approve for first reading, resolution providing supplemental appropriations for the 2020 budget and amending the 2020 budget 4th quarter. This is set for second reading and public hearing on December the 16th at our next regular meeting. I just want to add on to that and say the previous items regarding the budget is set for the public hearing and second reading on the 15th, which is a special meeting as part of our work session, just so people aren't confused as why one is the 15th and why the other is the 16th. Because we have to adopt the budget by December the 15th, therefore the need for a special meeting.
Thanks, Patty. I'll second.
Okay, moved by Patty, seconded by Greg. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of approval of the supplemental request, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, that is approved. Thank you very much. Connie, I think
Thank you.
you are done for the day. You can stay and watch if you want.
She's gone.
She's got to start on next year's budget, so we're putting her back to work.
I appreciate you putting the pressure on her, Steve. How is she gonna top this next year?
Trust me, she will.
So next up, we have an ordinance approving a lease agreement between the board and FB&F LLC, doing business as Stubby's Sports Bar, for space located at River Park Center at 123 Emma Road in BOCC. And Jody Smith, will hand this over to you.
Thank you. Jody Smith, I'm the facilities director. And we also have Trent Castleberry joining the meeting today. He is one of the co-owners of Stubby's. So this meeting is first reading, set for second hearing. Regarding a lease, this is at River Park Center, 123 Emma Road. Currently, Stubby's is leasing Suite 206 and 208 and have been since 1997. They are good tenants, and I think that we want to continue to lease with them. Their lease is set to expire December 31st of this year, and we're bringing this to you today with a proposal of a 3-year lease with Stubby's. And due to the economic downturn and the impacts of the public health order and the impacts of the restaurant and bar business having to reduce their occupancy by 25% and sometimes even having to close, that has been a real challenge for Stubby's. And so they have come to us requesting a reduction in their lease for the first year of 2021. So we are looking at a primary lease that would be 2021 at a reduced rate, and then we would start to implement again our 3% fixed minimum rate increase, or CPI, whichever is greater, for the second and third year. So that's what we're proposing. The space that they lease is 3,335 square feet. They used to pay $22.50, or their current lease right now is $22.50 a square foot, and they are asking for a reduction to $18 a square foot, which is about 15% or so in a reduction. They currently pay $79,607 annually, and this would be reducing their rent to $60,000, which is reduced revenue for the county at $19,577. So I think the question that we have for the board is the board willing to consider this $18 or this reduction in our revenue by $19,000, and do we agree to a 3-year term with Stubby's? And again, Trent is here to answer any questions that you guys may have as well. So with that, I'll turn it over.
George?
Yeah, thanks. Jody, I raised this question a month or so ago, how you came up with a reduced square footage. Did you look at comparables for the commercial restaurant bar space in the Mid-Valley area to arrive at that amount?
We did. So I had Sally Sheikman, who is the county realtor, do a snapshot. She could only find two restaurants that are or bars that are comparable. They're both in the Riverside Plaza. One is on the first floor, and it's 1,007 square feet, and they're paying about $19 a square foot. And then there's a second business on that second floor, and they have 2,000 square feet, and they're paying $13 a square foot plus the additional cost. And note that Stubby's does also pay, you know, our common area costs and other things as well on our property. So it's well beyond they are helping us pay for the common area. But those were the only two that she could come up with. We have recently added an elevator to that building, so the space is now accessible where it was never, it didn't meet that qualification before. Parking is not on Main Street, although it can be challenging in our parking lot. But, so that's where we came up. I had originally offered $19.50 a square foot, and Trent and his partner came back with, how about 18? And we wanted to bring it to the board and let you guys decide.
Okay, then the other question I have is you're proposing a 3-year contract, and each year you'd see a increase of either CPI or about 3%. Normally, would we have that same? Let's say if our current rate is $22.50, normally would you have a 3% or a CPI increase each year?
Yes.
So then, with the way this works, though, then after 3 years, we're still going to be below where we would normally be. So I would like to see a different adjustment after a year or two. I think the board should consider that. Hopefully the economy will bounce back, but I don't think we should continue to subsidize Stubbies once the economy bounces back.
And we could write it into the lease and make an amendment for second reading that we could go back to $22.50 year 2, and then the 3% or the CPI, which is greater for the 3rd year.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest for the board to consider.
Steve?
Patty?
Yeah, I understand George's position. Granted, we hope the economy bounces back this next year, or first of the year following, but there's also some loss of economy that I don't think restaurants and bars will ever be able to recover from, which happened over this year. Their economy may bounce back, but will that also then bring back the economy that they've lost? I don't have a problem reevaluating in 3 years. We've been asking other landlords of commercial space for, a lot of them restaurants and bars, if they will be forgiving to help restaurants and bars get through this time. I think that we should be putting our best foot forward and showing those other private landlords that, that the county is willing to look at this. So I don't have a problem reevaluating in 3 years when the contract comes up again, unless the board wishes to reevaluate in 2 years. But I just think it's better to move forward with the 3-year contract. I see John Peacock willing to.
Patty, I'd jump in. I think the original kind of counter from Trent, and he'll have an opportunity hopefully here, was to rebase and go for 5 years. Our compromise coming back was to shorten that time period, recognizing that we're still probably going to have another year of COVID-related restrictions, or at least a partial year of COVID-related restrictions, and there would need to be some recovery time. So, George, I think in looking at the comps, understanding that because of COVID right now, it softened. What we countered with Trent and his partner was to shorten the timeline and then reevaluate market rents when that lease was up.
So that's where we went from 3 to 5. I mean, from 5 to 3.
5 to 3, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm supporting that direction. I think we need to be showing the rest of the industry, those landlords, that we need to be looking at the future economic survival of our much needed restaurants and bar facilities.
So, Trent, I'd like to invite you to make comments or answer questions if you wish. You don't need to, but we'd be glad to hear your comments on this.
Well, I appreciate you guys considering our offer, so to speak. Blake, who's in the background here, we're trying to keep our distance. His son was exposed to COVID, so we're trying to do our due diligence. We're just trying to do our best here. This last year has been very difficult for us. We are, as of right now, over a normal year, we're probably over $200,000 down on just an average year to this point. Having to close and the minimum occupancy and the closing early has really put a damage to our overall numbers. We are more or less a bar. We happen to have a full kitchen, which, we do really good at for the in-house people, but, for to-go orders and stuff like that, we just haven't been doing as much as we could, even though our best efforts. But the majority of the money that we've made in the past has always been as a bar, for people dining in, people coming in after work. Majority of our business is people getting off of work at other restaurants, other bars, other stuff like that. They get off at 10, 11 o'clock, and then they come here from 10 to 2 in the morning, and we just can't do that anymore. So we are very much so handicapped on how we can earn money moving forward. So that's why we've come to say, whatever help we can get to help us move forward, because if we don't, then we don't really see ourselves being able to move forward.
Thank you, Trent.
Okay, thank you, Trent. Greg.
Yeah, I appreciate this. I had the same questions George had originally the last time we saw this. I'm happy to go with staff recommendation. I think you've cobbled together a good plan. We don't really know how quickly things will come roaring back. If they do, I'd love to see these guys make a go of it and stick it out, do the best they can. And if this is how, in a small way, we can help, I think it's a good idea. It also gives us the stability of knowing we've got a tenant in there for the next 3 years. And so I'm prepared to move this forward. And if anybody's ready for a motion, I'll try to make one here. Unless somebody else wants to say something. But I would make a motion that we approve a lease agreement between Board of County Commissioners and FB&F LLC DBA Stubby's Sports Bar for space located at River Park Center, 123 Emma Road, Basalt, Colorado. This is the first reading set for public hearing on December 16th.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Greg, seconded by Kelly. Further discussion. I have comments to make. I would be in favor of this contract. There are a lot of restaurants and bars across the country that have gone out of business permanently at this point in time. And we really need to try to keep our businesses in business. Everybody's losing money this year, and if we can keep one business in Basalt open and running, they've been there for a lot of years, we'd be doing our part to help the economy recover. It might not be for a whole year. I mean, I think it's going to require a high percentage of the population getting the vaccination against the virus before people are going to be able to start going back and into restaurants and bars at 100% occupancy levels. And that might be a whole year from now before that can happen. But if we could keep this one business going, that helps keep sales tax coming into the town of Basalt and to Pickens County. And I'm in favor of that. I wish that more commercial landlords would do the same for their tenants. I know a lot of them are, but probably not all of them are. But I think it's really important to try to keep businesses going as to the best of our ability, and this is the one thing we can do. This is the one building we have tenants that we lease to, so, I would be in favor of approving this contract. Any further board discussion?
Steve, just, I would love to ask Trent, how things have gone for you all. I know you're right on the border with Eagle County, and when we had public health restrictions regarding COVID, I know you guys were just caught in the middle, being pulled both ways, or at least you had a different set of circumstance with the bars across the street in Eagle County. I'm just wondering, how are things going for you now? How are you able to make a go of it? So far, things calm down.
Well, unfortunately, no. It's we're losing money every day. We, like I said, with our limited amount of hours, the hours that we usually make our money on, we have to close, and we have to be limited on the days that we do make money on. Like for instance, right now with the NFL football season, this has always been the big time for us to make money, and we have to sit at the front door and tell a certain amount of people, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to let you in. We can only have a matter of like 30 people in our door at this particular time. But we're hoping we had to get the economic injury disaster loan, and that's why we were hoping to move forward. But by the end of this year, we'll probably be quite a bit in debt, and that's why we're kind of trying to extend out a lease, because it's going to be a while before we can pay back what we already owe. So it's a tough point right now, but we've applied for as many grants as we qualify for. One of them being an outdoor. The Colorado Restaurant Association's offering an outdoor grant where you can try to help make your outdoor space more inviting to people over the winter. So we applied for that to see if we can at least have some people on our outdoor area to increase our occupancy a little bit. But as of right now, it's a tough struggle, and we're just trying to do our best to stay afloat till the day that when we can maybe start making some money again.
I appreciate your candor. Thanks.
George?
Well, yeah, I'll support this. I think this was a good conversation. But I have a question for Trent, or for your partner. Did you say that your son recently tested positive for COVID? And how long ago was that?
No, he hasn't tested positive. He was just under indirect contact quarantine, and I did take him to Glenwood to have him tested yesterday. We'll find out for 72 hours.
Yeah, okay. And then, so did you have to get tested as well?
No, but I have a scheduled test this coming Friday.
Yeah, okay. Well, I hope everything works out well for you both.
Yeah. Good point.
But, guys, you've known how long we've been open too, and we just celebrated our 25th Super Bowl last year, or this year, I should say, in February, and then in March, COVID hit, and basically COVID's going to crush us. I mean, it already has, and if something major doesn't happen, there's no way we can extend anything after December 31st.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
We just don't. We don't have the people. There's, as well as anybody, there's a lot of educated people in this valley, and a lot of those people they're just still not coming out, and they're just smart enough to say, you know what, I don't need to go to a bar right now. I can just stay at home, and that's what they're doing. So, it's very hit and miss. Some days you're like, wow, this is great. We actually made a few bucks, and then the next day or the same day next week, you're like, wow, almost nobody came through the door. So everything, every day is completely different than the next.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approval of this on first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, and Trent, thank you for being here, and good luck with your business. We hope you survive for many years.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of child support services for the citizens of Pitkin County by Garfield County. And we have Samuel Lander-Casper on, and I'll turn it over to you, Samuel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sam Lander-Casper. I manage the Economic Assistance Department for Pitkin County, and as Steve mentioned, we're here today to review this resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of child support services for the citizens of Pitkin County by Garfield County. I'm going to work on having shorter titles in the future. We're just going to be asking the board today to approve the first reading of the resolution in IGA and set a second reading and public hearing on the 16th. This IGA, I checked with Nan Sundin, the director, before I came on today to see if she knew how long that this arrangement had been in place, and she said to the best of her knowledge, and she's been with Pitkin County for nearly 30 years, Garfield County has always provided these services for Pitkin County. We find that this is the most efficient means of providing these mandated services because in order to do this ourselves, we would have to hire additional staff, and the cost would be prohibitive compared to the excellent service that we get from Garfield County. And I just want to stress that they've been great partners. Their child support services department is very professional, effective. They've helped establish orders that bring in nearly $65,000 a month to Pitkin County families to help support children and families here in the area. I also do want to call out that there is an error in the agenda item summary that says that the total cost of the county would be $31,000 a year or less. It's actually $15,000 is the contracted amount with Garfield County. I think the $31,000 came from my remembering the $31 per hour rate of pay. So we basically would just like to reestablish this IGA with Garfield County to keep these services available to our residents here in Pitkin County, and we find that it's the most efficient and effective way to do so. I'd just like to open up to see if anyone has any questions.
So, Sam, you answered my one question because I have noticed that discrepancy on the dollar amount. I assumed that the paragraphs at the beginning of the AIS were the incorrect ones, and you verified that.
Yes, I'll make sure that I adjust that for if it's set for the second reading and public hearing, I'll make sure that that's correct in the updated documents.
Okay, other questions from the board? And we could have a motion to approve on first reading if there are no further questions.
I'll make the motion. This is a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for the provision of child support services for the citizens of Pitkin County by Garfield County.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Greg, seconded by George. I'll make a small comment thanking Garfield County for providing this service for us. There are quite a few different things. In spite of some of our political differences, we have a lot in common and are able to cooperate on a variety of different areas, and this being one of them. So thanks to Garfield County for helping us out on this. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thanks, Samuel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. We'll see you on December 16th again, if not sooner.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to second readings, individual consideration items, and these items will, from here on out, will be public hearings. So first up, we have the ordinance of the board accepting a conservation easement and restrictive covenants from Sunfire Ranch. And we have Rye Neely and Dale Will for representing the staff here. So let's see, I'm not sure who's going to talk about it. Rye, are you going to carry this?
I'm going to start off, Steve, and then I'll turn it over to Dale, since he's been working on this project so long. As you mentioned, Ryan Ely, Assistant Pitkin County Attorney. I'm here with Dale Will. Paul Holsinger is also representing Open Space and Trail staff. Sorry, the dog's barking.
There goes Rambo.
We have, let's see, this is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners accepting a conservation easement and restrictive covenant from Sunfire Ranch. The Board of County Commissioners approved the ordinance on first reading on on October 28th, and it was continued on November 18th. The slide down here, I'll note that I believe we have several representatives from Sunfire Ranch here, including Jason Sewell. We have Doug Pratt, who did their land use application. I think we have Connor Coleman with us. Oh, yep, I see him down there as well. He was integral to getting this project done. And I believe Justin Nyberg from Holland and Hart is here. All these guys were really crucial in getting us to where we are today. I will note for the BOCC that since first reading, there was an update to this ordinance, and that was the original conservation easement as presented on first reading did not include, or it did include the 6 free market lots as part of the property that was burdened by the easement. That is not the case now. Those free market lots have been broken out and are covered by a separate restrictive covenant. This is more in line with how the contract was originally presented and has become desirable at this time for getting to closing here, which is scheduled for November 9th. Before I turn it over to Dale, it looks like there may be a question from Commissioner Newman here on that aspect, and I'll take that, and then we can move along.
Yeah, George.
Thanks, Ryan. I thought last time at first reading, and I can't find it now, but on the 6 lots, I thought we had a change that there was an opportunity to either utilize those 6 lots or have one building site for one larger home.
Yeah, so that was presented at first reading, and that is still part of how the conservation easement deed is set up. One of the mechanisms or one of the triggers that would eliminate the 6 free market lots would be if Sunfire Ranch utilizes its option to pursue a single family residence in what has been designated as the family compound selection area on the plat that will be recorded contemporaneously with the conservation easement. There are a couple triggers for both the 6 free market lot area and the gravel resource area that are generally alluded to in the conservation easement, but then specifically described in each of those restrictive covenants about how or if those areas are ultimately incorporated into the property that is burdened by the conservation easement itself. The 6 free market lots, the covenant covering that area, which is in front of you today, that we really just broke the language out of the conservation easement that was already there and applied it to the 6 free market lots in a separate instrument. And that basically is just limiting the development in the 6 free market lot areas to what was approved in the master plan at the end of 2019. But that single family residence option is still on the table. If that is exercised, the 6 free market lots and the family compound, those 2 development avenues go away. Similarly, if the Sunfire Ranch chooses to develop the family compound, the 6 free market lots option goes away, and they're just one of 3 options that can be pursued in this particular circumstance.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
Yep. Any other questions on that aspect of it before I turn it over to Dale?
Yeah, following up on this line of thinking, if the 6 free market units go away, then would that land be covered by the conservation easement and not by the restrictive covenant at that point?
That's exactly right, Steve. The way that the documents are drafted is if one of the other options is exercised, the plat, there will be a mandatory plat amendment to vacate those lots which are legally subdivided from the rest of Sunfire Ranch by the recordation of the subdivision plat. So there'll need to be a plat amendment to vacate those particular lots. And then the county's obligation at that point would be to release the restrictive covenant that is burdening the 6 free market lots separate from the conservation easement.
Okay, thank you. And
Yep.
I can see the day sometime in the future, there's probably will be a board of commissioners trying to refigure this all out that we all understand right now. So
Sure, and to that point, Steve, there's always the potential in the conservation easement and these restrictive covenants that development on whether it's the 6 free market lots or the gravel resource area, that development potential is eliminated through mutual agreement of Sunfire and the Board of County Commissioners. That potential always exists, and you never know what that might look like in the future.
Okay, thanks, Ry. Dale, do you want to add anything to the discussion here?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And if I could get Paul, he's going to share a map with us. This project is an example of how the county, through its open space program, can work with landowners to try to secure protection of a larger landscape. On this map that we have up on the screen now, you can see that this project adds considerable conserved acreage to an area that the county and its open space program have been working on for a long time. I got started in this area way back around 2001 when we purchased the property that Ulrich had gotten from the Mounts family, and that's now become Thompson Creek Open Space as well as Sustainable Settings. But you can see here on this map, in the adjacency to the Sunfire Ranch is also Cold Mountain Ranch, which is a big project that we did with assistance from GOCO. It's been about 12, 14 years ago now we finished that one. And in the larger area, the Flying Dog Conservation Easements, which interestingly enough were the very first conservation easements granted in Colorado after the state legislature created the enabling statute that formalized conservation easements as a method of protecting land in Colorado. So the Sunfire Ranch really contributes to this larger conservation effort in the lower Crystal Valley. The setting down there is pretty extraordinary. It's where the narrow part of the Crystal River Canyon opens up, and all of the important farmlands of the the Crystal Valley open up and much of that irrigated by the myriad ditches in the lower Crystal. I think my first discussion on Sunfire Ranch itself, as I mentioned on first reading, was about 20 years ago, 19 years ago, with Jason's mother, Susie Sewell, and we have been in touch ever since. Jason really came to the fore maybe 10 years ago. I have notes that Cindy and I were out there discussing some of the basic concepts which are still in this project today. And Paul, if we can see that aerial photo, just for everyone's understanding, when I look at this project, one of the extraordinary things about it is that we are moving all the development off of the uplands that you see over on the right side of this photograph and concentrating all of the developed uses down along the Highway 133 corridor. The Sunfire Ranch had been divided by one of Jason's ancestors into 29 lots that reach way up onto these slopes, and Jason could tell us exactly where his boundaries are, but they're way up into this pinyon juniper country up above towards the right side of this picture. Of course, you see Thompson Creek coming down from the Thompson Divide area up towards the upper right and down to the confluence with the Crystal towards the middle of the picture. But in any event, the development of the original subdivision of this ranch would have been a disaster from the point of view of wildlife habitat and protection of our rural character of this part of the county. So we have been plugging away at this. We've done it under the county's authority with open space master planning. I see John Ely's in the meeting, and I'll give John credit for the idea of a code section that synthesizes the efforts of two different county departments, being open space and trails, as well as community development. And this project has been the most intricate thing that we have undertaken to date, hence the duration of the time it's taken for everyone to be satisfied with every one of the myriad details. But we're finally there, and I want to commend Ryan Ely for really carrying the big load of this project for the last couple of years in making sure that the rather intricate conservation easement deed that you have in front of you today reflects all the requirements of the county code, as well as all of the desires of both the county commissioners and the open space board, and reflects the desires of the landowner as well. It has been no easy task to get all of these documents to be integrated and accurate. And to Steve's point, we think that they are drafted clearly enough so that in the future everyone will know what they mean. Certainly there are some moving parts here and some elections that Sunfire Ranch can make going forward, but I am confident that the language in the easement deed is clear, and that as those elections are made and the various uses are either pursued or retired permanently, that the document will stand the test of time. So I certainly join Rye in recommending that you approve this today. Just a quick note about this emergency ordinance that I think you will consider after we conclude the deliberations on the easement deed. The emergency ordinance affects a small change in the budgeting for this purchase, and frankly, I thought that I had dealt with this last spring, so I apologize, it's just coming up now. But as you may recall, last January, we had a joint executive session with the Open Space and Trails Board and discussed the redirection of some funds from the Aspen Valley Land Trust from this project to the Thompson Divide Ranch. the land trust, in looking at the complexity of the deed that you have in front of you today, decided that maybe it would just be easier to put those monies towards the Thompson Divide Ranch purchase. We have obtained those funds now, and of course that purchase was completed this summer. The Open Space Board voted on that date to increase our appropriation by the $100,000 to replace those AVLT funds, and I didn't realize until this week that we never formalized that budget change with you, although we did have direction from you in that executive session last January. So that amendment of that ordinance, as well as the approval of this deed, will set us up to close this this month. We have to. GOCO has been intimately involved in all of this, and of course is contributing $1 million towards this purchase. And we look forward to celebrating this being done before the new year. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dale. George?
Yeah, Dale, I just wanted to, reinforce this conservation easement has a lot of moving parts, and it's taken a long time to do. I think I recall my first year, I think you brought me up, we were just finishing up Coal Mountain Ranch bill sales, and for some reason I think you brought me up to assure bill sales that everything was going to go as stated. And that was my first foray into an open space conservation easement up in the Crystal. And when I look at that map that you showed, it's so impressive in terms of all the conservation easements and fee simples that Open Space Trails has done, certainly just up in the Crystal River Valley. It's pretty incredible. So I really want to thank Jason and his family for working with the county to get this accomplished. But I also really want to thank GOCO. GOCO has been, I think, a great partner for many, many years, and they've been, I think, extremely patient and able to work with us to extend their grant assurance as we were able to work through to ensure that Jason was able to accomplish all of his goals, as well as Open Space Trails and community development as well.
Thanks, George. Yes, those things are all true. And Open Space and Trails, by the way, will miss your careful support of these projects and the myriad adventures we've had with them.
Steve?
Patty?
Yeah, just want you to know, I have saved this. It's been on my desk since June of 2019. It is the Sunfire Ranch Open Space Preservation Master Plan application. I've been holding on to it, waiting for this day. Jason, I thank you and thank all of your efforts and all of your team. I just happened to have been up at Sunfire Ranch a few weeks ago. I had the great time of harvesting carrots with my 3.5-year-old granddaughter. It was a beautiful day. It's a beautiful, amazing parcel, and I think it's only become more beautiful and more amazing in the future. That whole valley section of the Crystal River Valley now, that entrance into the canyon there, whether you're coming or going, entering it or exiting it, will be preserved, and I really appreciate all the efforts. This is one of the good things, again, we get to do as boards of commissioner, and I'm excited to get the opportunity to move it forward to finality. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Jason, would you or any of your team like to make any comments on this at this time?
Yes, I would mirror everything that's already been said. It's been a lot of hard work to get to this point. Wanted to thank the county, specifically Dale Will, Rye Neely, and Suzanne Wolf for their help navigating this challenging easement. Wanted to thank my team as well, Justin Nyberg and Tom Todd with Holland and Hart, Doug Pratt with the Land Studio, Connor Coleman with Resiliency Lands, Silvers Engineering has been a pivotal part in this. My brother, Alex Sewell, for his support, and my family, my children, and my wife as well, in supporting this process, because it has been challenging, but I think the end result is worth it in all of it. And thank you all for your help and support along the way.
Thank you, Jason, for those comments. And I mean, I fully understand. I think yours ended up being more complicated than our ranch's conservation easement. At the time, I thought ours, nothing could be more complicated, but we actually, you know, took a couple years, but we got things ironed out on it and got it completed. So thank you for sticking with the process. And I think you have a really good product to show in your conservation easement and your plans for your ranch. So this is a public hearing, and I'm going to open the public hearing at this time and see if there are any members of the public who wish to comment on this ordinance accepting the conservation easement for Sunfire Ranch. And we have a couple of phone numbers on there who I'm not sure who they are. They might be here to comment on this. The phone number ending in 0731. Do you wish to comment on the Sunfire Ranch?
I think that was the party who was just listening into the meeting.
I think so too. The number ending in 6620. Do you wish to make a comment about Sunfire Ranch, or do you want to comment on the airport thing on the little bit later in the afternoon? Okay, I have the feeling they're probably here for the airport also. So I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. George?
Yeah, well, as I said, Steve, I started my career as a commissioner with open space with the Coal Mountain Ranch, and I would love to make a motion as I exit my career as a county commissioner with this great conservation easement. So if you allow me, I will make a motion. Let me find it again. Make a motion to approve an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County, Colorado, accepting a conservation easement and restrictive covenants from Sunfire Ranch.
I'll second that, and thank you, George. I was hoping you'd do that.
Yeah, perfect, George. That was perfect.
So it's been moved by George and seconded by Greg to approve this ordinance accepting the conservation easement. Are there further comments from the board? Kelly?
Yeah, I just want to really look to Jason and just say thank you to you and your family. I know I don't have to tell you that this is a huge decision, but it's a real gift. And so thank you very much.
Steve, I want one final.
Okay, and Patty?
Yeah, Jason, I just want to let you know, now that we're finishing this up, doesn't mean you've seen the last of me. I plan to be up there visiting the ranch as much as possible. It's an amazing sight, and as you know, Casey and Christy are my grandson's godparents, and we plan to be up there getting dirty as much as possible. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll say thanks to Jason. Thanks to the whole team of people from the county and from your helpers on this project, Jason. Many thanks to all of you. So I will call the question. All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Yay.
Enthusiastically.
Yes, enthusiastically. All right, thank you. Let's move on to our emergency ordinance, which is item 7B. And let's see, I don't have the wording in front of me. Could you read that again? Dale, do you have it in front of you?
It's an emergency ordinance amending ordinance 02 of 19 regarding the purchase of the Sunfire Ranch conservation easement. And if you want me to just reiterate, the need for this ordinance has to do with a small budget change to set us up for this closing. We had originally anticipated a contribution from the Aspen Valley Land Trust on this project. That contribution was redirected to another project that's since been completed, and we need to backfill for that $100,000. The total purchase price on this conservation easement is $10 million, with $1 million from GOCO, and with the budget change, it would bring the allocation from the county open space fund to $9 million.
Okay, questions from the board? Ryan, do you have anything you want to add?
I just want to add that we do need to set a confirmatory on this one. So I'm not sure. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I imagine that it might not be possible for Jeanette to notice it in time for the next regular meeting. So probably the first meeting in January, I would guess.
The next meeting is December 16th.
It's the second.
2 weeks away.
She might be able to get it out in 2 weeks.
If we could do it for the 16th, let's try to do that and have it completely done. Kelly and then George.
Yeah, that was my question. I would offer, can we just set it for the 16th and continue it if we have to?
I agree.
George?
The other option, if that timing didn't work, is we do have a special meeting that will happen on December 22nd as well.
Yeah, we could add it to that. I'd like to get it wrapped up before the end of the year.
So I would suggest maybe you just set it for the 22nd, then we don't have to worry about the noticing period. We'd know it would be plenty of time, and it wouldn't take too long on that date to accomplish this.
Okay, Steve, I'll make a motion.
Hey, Patty?
I'll make a motion to approve an emergency ordinance, amending ordinance 02-19 regarding the purchase of the Sunfire Ranch conservation easement. This is an emergency ordinance. We'll set for confirmatory reading, public hearing on December 22nd, 2020.
I'll second.
Moved by Patty, seconded by Kelly. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Yay, we got it done.
Yes.
We will send out an email when the closing has been completed.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So
Okay,
Steve?
it's almost 2 o'clock. We need a break before we go into the airport item.
Perfect.
Is 10 minutes up for everybody?
Perfect.
10, maybe
10
15
minutes.
if I could.
15?
15.
So let's get back together at 10 minutes after 2.
Okay.
10 minutes at 2, and we'll reconvene. Okay, thank you.
Have one more scheduled item on our agenda this afternoon, which is our airport issue. So I'm going to, Airport Vision Committee Common Ground recommendations, and I'm going to turn it over to Steve Child to introduce our staff members to take it forward.
Okay, thanks, Patty. And this is the first reading. We will have second reading on this resolution on December 16th, when the official public hearing will be, but we are also allowing public comment today because we figure there will be a lot of people wanting to comment. We're going to spread it out over a couple of meetings instead of all at one time. So, let's see, let me pass it on to you, John Peacock, and then I'll have you go first, and then I'm sure Rich will be weighing in here in short order too.
Yeah, and we're actually going to reverse that order. I'm going to let Rich take lead on this. I will weigh in. I'll just note that this is really the culmination of a long process. We've been talking about this really since January 2019, but well before that too, really since 2012. And while I say it's a culmination, every ending is kind of a new beginning, and this really, if the board approves the document that you've been working on since August today, that will be a new start for us to look forward to implementation. So with that, Rich, I'm going to turn it over to you to go through the item.
Great, thank you. Board of Commissioners, Rich Engelhardt, Deputy County Manager and Interim Airport Director. As both Steve and John had mentioned, what you have today in front of you is a resolution to adopt these common ground recommendations that you all have revised. Today is the first reading where you are going to be taking public comment, and second reading will be on the 16th as mentioned. One of the things I also want to note is that the board is also going to seek written comment up until Friday, December 11th. Those will also be taken for consideration. So what I'd like to do is go through at least the heading of the resolution itself. That was provided to the board just prior to this meeting where staff was getting it put together, but it really does adopt this attachment A, which really is the meat of all the work that you guys have been doing. So, but with that, this is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pitkin County, Colorado, approving Pitkin County Board of Commissioners amendments and additions to the ASC Vision Committee Common Ground recommendations and airport map for the Aspen-Pitkin County Airport. This is resolution number 105, 2020. And The resolution itself, and I know, George, you're going to be leaving soon, but this may rival some of these resolutions having so many whereases. I think we've got almost 3 pages of whereases that starts this. But it needed to, because as John had mentioned, this started clear back in 2012. And so part of this resolution is to capture all that history. So the recitals go through the history of the different committees that were set up, the time spent. It has specific dates, so that if this document, if approved, will become part of the record, along with a number of other things that the board has also been considering. The resolution at the end, though, gives staff direction, and part of that is, number one, is that it would adopt these recommendations as stated here. And I'm going to share my screen and just quickly go through those just so that the viewing public can see that document. But it directs staff to open discussions with the FAA and the airlines based on the contents of this recommendation. One of the things that it also does, it cleans up or repeals a formal an appointment of the Vision Committee that was established as part of a resolution. That was a formal appointment. It had criteria around them established as part of that, and that was just the Vision Committee itself, and that was a resolution 024-2020. It will repeal that and then puts in motion a process now to seek candidates for the appointment of an airport advisory board to be formalized consistent with the other commissioner-appointed advisory boards. Staff will be bringing forward certainly a number of suggestions, sitting down, working with the board to make sure that the criteria is set up, that it meets what you're looking for, to establish kind of those goals, responsibilities of that board. And then we'll end up advertising for that based on board direction. Also part of this resolution talks about the airport layout plan. That's the beginning, as John has mentioned. It's going to take us a bit to get there. We're going to have to negotiate before we get there. But part of that is also doing the cost analysis and the framework around the construction timing. So that'll all come back to the board as well. And then we'll continue to update studies, forecasts, and develop appropriate noise and emissions data to be included as part of this as well. And I see Cindy Hooven is on, and Cindy has already been working her way with our noise, also with the air. We have been also trying to establish some great baseline data for the board to do this. So this isn't just a new start here. We've been collecting that for quite some time. So if I might just quickly share my screen here.
John, we never got the reso.
It should be in your email.
I didn't see it.
Okay, I'm not sure. Are you able to see the attachment A now?
Let me see.
Okay.
Make it as big as you can, Rich.
Okay, let me do that. Let me see if I can slide this over here. Yep.
I got all the.
Is that better? A little higher?
We can't see it. You might need to choose your other screen.
I got all the one thing, but I didn't get an actual reso.
Do you have it now? Okay, all right.
Is this the reso?
Okay, so board, this is the attachment. This was sent out in the agenda and has been published publicly. But I thought I'd just walk through it real quickly, just to show the watching public what this does entail. So it does start out with the verbiage at the top describing what this document is. There's an introduction piece that also has links to different parts of different documents that have been established over time. And in the third paragraph, there's a link to the Common Ground Recommendation Report. And in that, that's a 64-page report that also has Appendix A, which has all of the working group's information in there as well. And it also contains minority reports from the Visioning Committee. That's a lengthy document, but it's also attached to this. We have dates that you're able to go back, look at. That's part of the public process of you all collecting information. And then the bottom paragraph, I think, is kind of the summary. It's a recommendation below is a culmination of all these efforts over the past 2 years that can be found on our Pickens County website. And we give a website and a direct link there. This resolution now serves as a blueprint for the county and the community to achieve the BOCC aspirational goals for the Aspen-Pickens County Airport over the next 30 years. These goals and recommendations are as follows. So the next set was a vision statement that you all had worked on and established. We have the ASE community values. These were the visions and the values that you all had looked at, had commented on, and added to. In fact, I just went through before this meeting and added up. Prior to this, there were 15 overall recommendations, and now there's 98 overall sub components to this. The next piece is the core community goals, and this is what establishes the boundary that we bounce everything off of that is established within this document. And then these are the 15 goals and recommendations. They start out with a major heading, and then again, the subcategories underneath these. The board it's made mention that some of these may be easy to do, some of them much harder, and it's going to take a little time. But all of them, or the majority of them, are going to cost some money, so we're going to have to go through a process of making sure that we vet these properly. We'll be bringing these back to the board for financial approval. Usually during the budget process is when those are established. But I'm just scrolling through these now. And again, these were provided to the public. And then the final goal, or the common ground recommendation, was the airport map. And that is on the last page. It is a map that is a combination of all of the recommendations into one kind of visual here. And that was adopted as well. And then there were community safeguards and data and measurement that ends this document. With that, that's the work that the board had done. It was based on all of the information that the Vision Committee had put together. And I just wanted to share that publicly and just go through that. That's where we are today is, board, you're now considering this. You're going to take some public comment, and I believe that's it. I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Okay, thanks, Rich. I do have about 4 or 5, I think they're minor changes. Some of them are just typos, but in order to make a perfect document, I think we should try to make it as perfect as possible because people will be using this for years and years to come. But before I go into mine, do other commissioners have comments or any changes or anything that you want to do at this point?
Steve, I'd rather hear yours, and then I can cross off mine as we go down, but I don't know, Kelly had her hand up, but for some reason I didn't get the reso. It said it would be passed out at the meeting, but so I'm just kind of reviewing it right now, so making some notes, so I'll be ready to go.
Steve, I might mention that I did send this to Jeanette Jones. It has now been approved. We did pick up quite a few of the typos that came through. We grabbed yours. During second reading, hopefully this is going to be much more solid in as far as the typos go. So I think we've got those addressed.
Okay, but I mean, I just have a couple of typos. Let me just point them out. You maybe already corrected them. That's fine. So on page, these are all in the attachment A, you know, in the vision document. So on page 2, community character, it's the last paragraph down there. It says airport future, and there is an apostrophe as if it said airports future at one time. And I don't know whether we wanted to say airport without the apostrophe or airports.
Okay.
I think it probably sounds better to say airport's future. So just maybe drop the S on that. On page 4, this is a little bit more substantial change. On the number 2 goal about the sustainability of the new airport, the second bullet point, it says such as LED lighting.
Is he on,
So
he's on this
the whole
document?
bullet point says
He's not on the res though.
utilize most energy efficient technologies throughout the landside, terminal, and airside, such as LED lighting. I can think of 20 or 50 different new technologies we probably will be using, and the LED lighting is to me is setting a really low bar on technologies. I think we should just strike the such as LED lighting, because there's so many different technologies. The technology is changing. Undoubtedly, we'll be using, maybe we won't even be using LED lighting. Maybe there'll be another new kind of lighting. Who knows? But I don't think that LED lighting clause there adds to that paragraph at all, because there are so many different really innovative technologies out there right now, and we don't want to list them all, certainly. So
I don't have an opinion. I don't have an opinion either way. We can leave it in. It just says such as, which means etc., or we can take it out. It's really up to the board as a whole. So what does the rest of the board feel? Leave it in, take it out.
I don't have it right in front of me, but if it's, Patty, if it says such as an example of what we're looking for are, the state-of-the-art lighting, energy lighting fixtures, such as LED. I mean, something like that, because that's what is currently, and it still may be the one which we can actually start implementing
now
immediately.
Yes, you want to leave it in?
I would.
Okay.
If it's worded like such as an example, I don't have it right in front of me.
Yeah, it says such as LED lighting. I'm fine leaving it in.
It is using as an example. We could put a such as phase change materials in the terminal, that such as they're used in the RMI Innovation Center in Basalt. Or you could use any number of things as an example of what we might want to use. So I'm okay leaving it in or taking it out. I personally would take it out, because I don't think it adds that much to what we're trying to say. Greg, you could go either way. Kelly?
Yeah, I'm a little ambivalent on this point, which I know isn't helpful. So I guess I would just say let's leave it in.
Okay.
Thank you, Kelly.
Let's see. Going to page 7, which the goal number 10, having to do with the 6 to 8 gates, provided and designed for 6 to 8 gates. And I know we've discussed this forward and backward, talked about it a lot. So I just want to make sure we are saying what we want to say in this one. And it's saying that we would design for 6 gates. If we, during the design process, wanted to make it 7 or 8 gates, that it would have to go to the airport advisory board. It would have to have a full public hearing and everything on it. I want to make sure that that's what we're saying for gates number 7 and number 8. That's what it says, that we would, basically do a major process for adding even 1 more gate or 2 more gates. Now, I know if we're going beyond that, we would have to actually be doing an addition to the building to make more room for more gates. And that would be a full-blown hearing before the public and everything, but just want to make sure that is what we want to say, the way it's worded. George?
Yeah, I thought we went through this ad nauseam, that as part of the design will incorporate the ability to expand from 6 to 8, and depending on the demand, depending on aircraft size, if the BOCC at that point wants to open up additional gates, then it would just go through a public process, and I'm okay with that. I think we sort of went through this many times.
And the thought crosses my mind that when we are doing the design process, it probably will be more of a full-blown public process, reviewing it and having public comment on the design of the terminal. Is that a correct reading on when we get to that point? It's going to be that process anyhow? And that would include, is it going to be 6, 7, or 8 gates or whatever, however many gates it's going to be, would be part of that discussion too? Is that right, Rich?
Yeah, I think John's talked to that point, that it'll be a highly public process whenever we start this terminal. You have the advisory board, and we've even have had subcommittees set up even on top of those to look at certain components of it. So it'll be highly public, yes.
Okay, so then this number 10, the way it's worded is fine, because we're going to go through that process no matter if it's 6 gates or however many gates. We're going to go through that whole process. So I'm okay with the wording then in that case. On the next page, page 8, item number 11 on the flexible gates. First sentence, it says, provide 6 to 8 gates for regional aircraft, but fewer for larger aircraft. We're comparing apples to oranges here. The larger aircraft, like the A220, is a regional aircraft. It has a longer wingspan. The regional aircraft include like the CRJ-700 with a shorter wingspan, and it includes the A220 with a longer wingspan. So I think we should change the wording of that. Provide 6 to 8 gates for regional aircraft with shorter and longer wingspan, or larger wingspan, or something to that effect. So then we're comparing the length of the wingspan is what we need the flex gate for, not whether it's a regional aircraft or not a regional aircraft. Kelly?
I wonder if substituting the word mainliner for larger helps clarify that.
John's got a.
And then, is there any unintended nuance that it adds?
Yeah, I think the intent of this was to stick with the next generation of regional aircraft, which, for example, the A220 would fall into, but has a higher seating capacity than the CRJ-700. In the case of the flex gates, what you're really managing is the seating capacity, which is associated with the larger aircraft. Mainline aircraft generally won't be able to operate in here, and are the type of aircraft right now that the Vision Committee is hoping airlines will not select to come in here. And so by larger, right now there's a good association of larger wingspans with more people, and that's where the flex gates really came in. So an A220, I'm trying to remember, it seats over 100 people. versus the maximum of 70 to 76 on a CRJ 700. So I think the idea right now with the flex gates is to be able to flex down. Now, Steve, there could be a circumstance in the future where there are wider wingspans with less capacity, that we'd have to deal with if gates were added. I don't know if that answers the question or not. But I think the intent is fairly clear of what we're trying to manage as we go into the design process. It's really associated with the employments.
So we could say provide 6 to 8 gates for smaller regional aircraft, but fewer for larger aircraft. Maybe that would be just add the one word, and that clarifies it a little bit. Just add the word smaller before the word regional aircraft. And then you don't have to say whether it's the wingspan or the capacity of the seating capacity. A larger plane would be, for whatever reason, a larger plane is going to take the space of 2 gates to accommodate it. And that's why we need the flexible gates. Does that sound good to everybody, just adding the one word smaller?
That's fine.
I'm fine.
Okay, I think let's do that. Then the other 2 things I have are just typos on Kelly's wording, just below number 11, before number 12, the prelude to the others. The last sentence, or the last line, it says only aircraft which is cleaner. I think it should say are cleaner. Sounds more grammatically correct to me. Because aircraft is kind of...
Steve, that's one that we did clean up. The way that reads now, it says, pursuit of the work in the proposed airport layout plan will not be approved by the Board of County Commissioners until such time as either negotiations with the FAA and or the airline and other partners are clear and convincing evidence in an updated fleet mix study indicate that only aircraft which are cleaner, so we changed is to are cleaner, quieter, and of certain size, that will serve ASE.
Oh, right, that's a good change.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
In the number 12, the third line of that accommodates aircraft which I think it should say meet community goals instead of meets, just make it a singular.
Yeah.
There was someplace, and I'm not finding it now, that it had the word layout, but the airport layout plan, but it left out, oh, maybe that was in the resolution. Left out, it said lay instead of layout.
Yeah.
What? Did you catch that?
We did. We got that one. Yes, sir.
Okay. I think that was in the resolution. I don't have it written down here.
Yeah.
So that's all I have, suggestions for a couple minor changes.
Steve, I have...
Kelly. Oh, Patty, go ahead first.
Kelly can go. She was before me.
I don't think I was, but I'll be quick. I just was that just in that little preface, maybe we give it a title, because it's sort of unclear if it applies to the one above or the one below. When you look at it on the paper, so I would maybe say something like preface to airside improvement goals 12 to 15, and just have that italicized and maybe underlined right above the statement there.
How about preface to following goals?
Great.
Yeah, that was easy. Is that all, Kelly?
Yep.
Okay. So, can I address, is it too soon for me to address just a couple things in the reso that they're not about the substance? Well, one of them kind of is. Or do you want me to wait until we do a reso discussion?
I think you should go ahead and bring them out on the floor now, Patty.
I don't have pages on the reso that I have on my screen, but when we're doing all the bazillion whereases, you guys did a great job. Just to be consistent, there's the whereas on November 10th at the Jerome Hotel. Just put the year 2020, just because it's consistent with the other whereases. And then under the therefore be it resolved, under 2 bullet point, we should add, with the discussion with the FAA, we should add, I think it's in there, other partners. Where did I see that? I think it was the first bullet point. Yeah, an open discussion with the FAA and the airlines. Shouldn't we put other partners in there? Because aren't we having discussions with more than FAA and airlines? Because in the vision document, we added other partners. And I don't want to forget, other partners could be insurance carriers or whoever else we decide.
Sure.
And then there's nothing mentioned under the bullet points in here under the therefore about setting up the advisory committee, which was going to be one of the things we started doing right off the bat. Did we want to add a bullet point about that? Staff will begin the process too.
Well, under number, on the second bullet point,
It's in there.
Oh,
puts in
okay.
motion a process.
I guess I was hung up on other partners.
Yeah, I think we got that captured, Patty, unless you want to.
Okay, I just got to where we peel the formal appointment, but it does say the other appointment to sit on. Okay.
Yeah.
That works. That works for me. That language works. Thank you, Rich.
Okay.
That's kind of all I have at this point. After getting through all the whereases. That was a lot. Good job.
There were. Quite a story. History, a lot of history.
Yeah, a lot of history, a lot of years.
Okay, George or Greg, do you see anything in either the attachment or the resolution? I mean, we can come back to it. If we pick up something a little later on, we can come back to it, but.
I'm good to move.
Okay. So are we ready to open this up for public comment?
Yeah.
I think we are. So, and I don't know, is just a technicality, is this like a public comment period, like an official public comment period? And all of their comments will be recorded and part of the record, is that correct? I think it is.
Yes, it's part of the record. It'll be maintained with the noticed public hearing comments.
So this would be an official public hearing, not just an informal comment period at this time?
As soon as the board opens it up for public comment, it is part of the public comment in total.
Okay, Kelly?
Yeah, I thought we needed to make a distinction between this public comment period versus a public hearing because of notice provisions. So I just want to be cautious that we're not referring to this as a public hearing today.
There is a requirement that one of the public hearings or a public hearing on the public comment, however you would like to interpret it, be noticed pursuant to the charter. And that is done for the next BOCC regular meeting. So this is an additional comment period afforded to the public, which is not required and is not provided for and was not noticed as such formally under the terms of the charter, but once opened by the board to accept comments, those comments then become part of the record.
Okay. So we will call it a public comment period. So I will open up the public comment period. Any members of the public who wish to speak on this we are going to have a 5-minute time limit. And I think I will just go down well, you know, some people are raising their hands. I think we'll go to those who raise their hands first, and then I will call on the ones who haven't raised their hand for adding comments. So we'll start out with the phone number ending in 4433.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Steve. This is John Bennett. Hello, everybody. I just want to thank the commissioners for your thoughtful, deliberate, and really thorough review of the Vision Committee's Common Ground recommendations. You've done a great deal of, I know, very hard work. I know many in the community are still fearful about what a new airport might bring, but for anyone who's listening and hasn't read your resolution with its attachment, I want to quote an excellent new sentence you've added to the Group 3 airport layout language. And it's that preface that you guys were just talking about for typos. But I want to just read that one sentence again for its meaning, because I think it's terribly important. Pursuit of the work in the proposed airport layout plan will not be approved by the Board of County Commissioners until such time as either negotiations with the FAA and/or the airlines and other partners, or clear and convincing evidence in an updated fleet mix study indicate that only aircraft which are cleaner, quieter, and of a certain size will service ASE. That's really great new language, and I hope at least it will assure a lot of residents. And your resolution still contains previous language requiring negotiations with airlines and the FAA to ensure that future aircraft landing here will have greenhouse gas and other emissions that are significantly lower than the CRJ, be quieter than the CRJ 700, weigh no more than 140,000 pounds, which of course would exclude 737s and other heavy metal mainline aircraft, have no more than 100 to 120 seats, another exclusion of those mainline aircraft. And on the private plane or general aviation side of the airport, your resolution includes safeguards such as the reservation system for private planes to avoid too many arriving at once, increased aeronautical spacing. It will spread planes out to increase safety by reducing the peak flow of aircraft, and peak hour congestion pricing for private planes. These kinds of measures together will result in fewer peak hour flights in high season. That in itself will increase safety, as well as bring some measure of sanity and relief, let's say, for those who live under the flight path. All this ensures that our future airport will improve our quality of life while it also makes it safer. So I just want to thank you again for all your good and hard work. Many of us out there, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Next up is Evan Marks.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Evan.
Okay, terrific. I may have more substantive comments on the 16th, but I didn't want to let this opportunity to pass so that I could compliment each and every commissioner. This ASC project has been a lightning rod for so many constituencies, the result of which is that you guys have been besieged by many folks with differing opinions, facts, and, alternative facts, in fact. So from my perch, I wish to really publicly commend you for your perseverance in identifying the signal from the noise, and for the courage to take the hard route of moving forward, albeit conditionally, with this project when the politically expedient decision might have been to bury it. As you guys know, I'm on the Financial Advisory Board, and as one of your financial advisors who has absolutely no financial dog in this hunt, I will assure you that a well-designed ADG airport is totally consistent with all of our community goals and values, and ultimately, it will prove to be vital in preserving the county's existing tax base, which unfortunately we've learned from our recent experience with COVID is much more fragile than we previously believed. This is a gateway to the future, and I don't see another course for us to take and to preserve our financial well-being as a community. So I wholeheartedly applaud you for your efforts. I'm not going to take 5 minutes, but I will say that you guys deserve the highest of our accommodations. As staff knows, and but the BOCC may not, Barry Vaughn is a personal friend of mine, and if he were able to be here today, I'm sure that he would echo my sentiments. That's all I've got. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your diving into this. I know it wasn't easy, in particular with all the loud voices in the community that have disparate objectives.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, thanks a bunch, Evan, for your remarks. Okay, moving on, the phone number ending in 4433. If you wish to speak, if you could unmute your phone. You could push *6 and that would unmute your phone.
4433 was John Bennett.
That was John Bennett, okay.
Go
Let's go on to the number 0731. Phone number ending in 0731. Do you wish to speak on this?
No, just listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The phone number ending in 5064. You're unmuted. We're not hearing you speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Just barely.
Oh boy. If I speak loud, can you hear me?
Barely. We can
Just
barely
talk
hear
as
you.
loud as you can.
I will speak as loud as I can. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That's better.
Okay. I'm Ellen Anderson, and I have just a couple of minutes of comments. In the November 30th Aspen Daily News was an enlightening article on racial bias in the Roaring Fork Valley and how, according to those most qualified to spot it, many of us don't even know it exists. It was an eye-opening article. We don't know what we don't see. There are many other types of bias not easily recognized by those engaging in it, and another one is called expectation bias, where you hear what you want to hear, and I think many of us have experienced that. And another is called escalation of commitment bias. This is the phenomenon where people justify increased investment in a decision based on the cumulative prior investment, despite new evidence suggesting that the decision was probably wrong. To some of us, this rings a bell regarding our airport planning. This community has spent years and millions of dollars studying ASE. The county orchestrated an elaborate ASE visioning process, although only 63 volunteers voted in the end. Thousands of hours have been spent on sincere, thoughtful, and well-meaning county staff, by sincere, thoughtful, and well-meaning county staff, you, the commissioners, and of course by citizen volunteers too. There has been a huge investment to press forward. I invite you to consider the possibility of escalation of commitment bias, because you have seemingly refused to consider the empirical facts so eloquently laid out by Amory Levins. He researched, documented, and sourced every fact in his 18-page letter to you, in which he responded to misinformation promulgated by various speakers at the November 11th public meeting. He described to you how the information you received was only from staff-picked, paid consultants, and you have been prevented from having any meaningful dialogue with unbiased, independent, volunteer experts with no financial gain. As Amory said, quote, only experts picked and instructed by your staff have been allowed to brief you or vision participants. You have no fact-checking, no second opinions. A monopolized and, we're now told, agenda-driven process can't inspire or merit public confidence, end Amory's quote. I believe you are unknowingly engaging in escalation of commitment bias. I believe you are justifying increased investment in the decision to proceed with a reconfiguration of the air side of ASE based on the now disproved assumption that the community was facing loss of commercial service. In other words, you are justifying increased investment in a decision based on cumulative prior investment despite new evidence suggesting the decision was probably wrong. You are doing the same thing Airbus did with the failed A380. They proceeded to manufacture a huge aircraft based on an outdated business model of the airline industry. And now just recently, Berlin, Germany, what they did with their new airport, they just closed a brand new terminal and a brand new runway because they were built with outdated assumptions. I respectfully ask you to please take a deep look at the possibility of escalation of commitment bias. There is no rush to reconfigure the air side, and trying to rush it through before one commissioner is term limited, in my opinion, is not a responsible reason. There is, however, every reason not to perpetuate decisions made based on outdated information, incomplete information, and just plain misinformation. Now, you may say that you are pausing, but I suggest that authorizing a new ALP is not a pause, but rather a choice to proceed. So please truly pause airside configuration until we have updated facts on aircraft and aviation industry. And thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ellen.
thank you, Ellen. And we could hear all of your words. It was quiet, but we could hear you.
Great, thank you. Great.
So let's go to, there's only one more phone number on here, and phone number ending in 6620.
Steve, this is Meg Haynes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Meg.
I want to, as I've frequently done, ditto all that John Bennett said. As co-pilot of the visioning process, I commend not only John and Jackie and all the Vision Committee members and the 100-plus people who worked on this year-long process, but also the 5 of you for the hard, diligent work that you've done. Thank you, thank you. I would also like to endorse every word that Evan Marks so eloquently said. I believe, as he noted, that the airport is the gateway to our valley in a financial, cultural, sustainable for our future, and many other varied ways. So look forward to seeing how this process will evolve, and I heartily endorse every word of the resolution. Thank you for your excellent work.
Thanks, Meg.
Thanks, Meg. Okay, there are no more phone numbers on our list of people who have called in. I'm going to give a half a minute and see if anyone else who is watching wishes to call in. You can get the phone number at the top of our agenda for the day. I think it's on the grassroots screen also. You also will have the opportunity to make public comment on December 16th at our next regular meeting, when we will have the second reading on this. I'll just keep talking here. Also, you can submit written comments by, was it December 11th, Rich? I think that was the date you said, December 11th.
Yeah, December 11th by noon.
By noon, to get written comments into our packet. That's the deadline for that. So I'm not seeing anyone else phoning in, so I'm going to close the public comment period for today, and we'll bring it back to the board. George?
Yeah, thanks. I'll start with some comments, and I'm sure we'll listen to the other commissioners as well and have some give and take on this. I don't know of any issue ever that this county has undertaken that has had more public involvement over a length of time that the airport issue has. Starting back in 2012, as Rich started, and then putting together over 100 community volunteers, diverse backgrounds, and having them to come together on 5 different task forces to work together to be able to participate and listen to, contrary to one of the public speakers, listen to experts that have been brought in from around the country and be able to question those experts on their fields and to have dialogue and discussions and to learn. And a lot of the public who were not involved in this process really missed out on hearing all of that information, although they still can because it's all been televised. Consensus is really hard to come by. And there's an old saying in terms of coming to a consensus is you go slow to go fast. And I think that this process has certainly followed that protocol. Over 15 months of hard work by these committee members, hard decisions, hard discussions. The Vision Committee, the Common Ground recommendations, were able to come up with as close as a consensus as one could come to, certainly within this community with the diverse opinions. There was certainly a strong majority report and a minority report that we all had the opportunity to listen to and to read. And it's important that we allowed ample time, many opportunities for the public to express their opinions, and which are still available now. Open meetings that we were able to accomplish even with COVID. Certainly all of our virtual meetings. And, we could always expect that we'll have differing opinions. But I think that as we listen to all the recommendations, I think that the community did agree on the 4 key goals that has been presented to us. And those are the goals that are going to provide the guiding light for the future board in the community to continue to work on to ensure that we have an airport that addresses those concerns of all of us in terms of being able to have quieter airplanes, cleaner airplanes, safer airport, and have a way to manage the growth. I mean, those 4 goals, I think there was never any controversy about, and that's I think what we have been able to achieve. With the common the common group's recommendations that we looked at, we went painstakingly through those recommendations word by word, literally. And we had some great dialogue and discussions amongst ourselves to be able to, for us to become, to get to a consensus as well. We've got, I don't know how many hours just going through the recommendations that we have spent, and not even considering the thousands of hours that the committees have spent in terms of delivering that document to us. And so, you know, I think the choices that we have here are to either keep the status quo and not do anything, and perhaps wait years from now to try to go through this process again, accept the original airport layout plan that the FAA had actually approved, or to have the opportunity to look at yet a hybrid, an alternative that perhaps better addresses the concerns and the needs of our community. And so I think that's where we should be going towards. I think that we all know that the status quo will not get us to where we want to go. The status quo won't allow us to pursue cleaner aircraft, less noisy aircraft, a safer airport, and to be able to manage the growth. By going forward, we're able to address those. I want to address this comment that we're rushing this just because I'm term limited. And you know, I thank the board for allowing me to participate in this, but the board doesn't owe me anything. I don't need a feather in my cap to be part of this process. What the board's responsibility, I think, is to all the citizens, volunteers that have spent a year and a half working diligently on this document and handing it off to the Board of County Commissioners to be able to then make a decision to either go forward or not go forward. And that's who I believe the BOCC owes their decision to, not to me, but to the community at large. I really want to, we've said this many times, but I don't think we can say it enough. Thank all of our committee volunteers. Certainly thank our Vision Committee, Jackie, John, Meg, for the countless hours over this last 2 years. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I also, we've never really acknowledged, at least publicly, and I really want to do this now, I want to really acknowledge our staff. Our staff took on, not as a second job, but probably as a third job in terms of their time commitment, in terms of helping to ensure that this process went as smooth as possible. And so, you know, starting with Charlotte Anderson, helping to set up the venues, Carol Silvernago, G.R. Fielding, Brian Pettit, Cindy Hubin, John Peacock, John Ely, Rich Engelhardt, who helped facilitate all these meetings and document it all. It could not have happened without this tremendous staff support that went far above one's normal responsibilities and duties. So I really want to thank all of you, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I apologize. But this is a document, and I agree with Evan's remarks, and Meg reinforced that our decision is really a gateway to the future. And this is the opportunity to do that. And we know that there's still going to be a tremendous amount of information that we're going to, this board and future boards will continue to gather and research before any dirt is actually turned over. So I'll stop with that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Kelly?
Thanks, George. I appreciate you listing all the names of our staff who've worked really hard on this over the last many years. I'll try not to ramble too much, but I want to address and just say I appreciate, Ellen Anderson's identification of bias here. I've really tried to be very, very objective in this whole process. At the beginning of this process, I said, with a contentious issue like this, nobody's getting a gold star. And, I'm actually a little more optimistic now, and I have think there's more promise than maybe I thought at the beginning as the process has unfolded. But for me personally, I see the dealings of the airport as, part of the fiduciary and asset management responsibilities as a commissioner, not for me as a really passionate policy that I want to see put into effect and, put my driving force behind. And so I think because of that, it's really caused me to be as objective as I think I possibly can be. And I have considered, whether tabling this whole project is the appropriate path forward. And I don't think it is. I think that, there's been incredible work done here that goes back to really the demand of the community to say, hey, this EIS, this airport layout plan, this feedback from the FAA, we have to be involved as a community to really decide the path forward for our airport. And that's how we've gotten here now. And, sort of looking back at this process, we build in the opportunity for minority reports, which have been really valuable for me. We've built in the opportunities for lots of public comment to help us, I think, really finesse what our final position is and vision is for the airport. And, I think there's been critique that's been taken into account all along for the last 18 months of whether the process was doing the best that it could. We as a board had heard some critique that, hey, the consultants were having too heavy a hand here. And so staff and vision leadership took a step back and said, no, we're going to take more control here, back into the community's hands in order to drive how this conversation unfolds and to bring in the experts that we need to bring in to answer our questions. And there's been a lot of attention as of late about, criticism of the process and, malintent on behalf of some of the actors as to what purpose the whole vision process was aimed towards. But I do want to remind, when we heard in March, when we were first presented with the findings from the Vision Committee, we heard very different things. We heard testaments from people from all committees saying that this was the most intensive community process they've been part of, that this was an opportunity to ask every question and to dive down every rabbit hole and to leave no question unanswered and to access any and all of the information that the Vision Committee and the subcommittees needed to create their recommendations to us. And so that was a while ago now, but that was also a very important voice that we heard. And so, I've just decided to accept everybody's passion on all sides and everybody's good intent behind that passion in trying to navigate this process. And I've incorporated all of it into my decisions here. And, I'm the one, and Greg asked the question if we're moving this forward because George was leaving, and I'm the one that said, great, George has been here, and I should know better. Those comments get more attention than they deserve. But really the answer is we're here because we've made it here. Like, we're here because we've done the work to get here. I think we have been very thorough in our deliberations. I think we are ready to make this decision. I think we have not let questions gone unanswered. And I think we've put in very important guardrails into our vision document that sets us up for good decisions moving forward. And I'm glad that we've come to that as a board. So that's why I think we're here now, and I'm proud of the product that we have. I think that, you know, we have caution built into it. We also are able to put the weight of the board behind the really good things that are in it too, that move us past the status quo that I don't think meets our community values. So, you know, those are all good things from where I sit. I think we do need more information about certain things. You know, I just want to respond a little bit to the questions regarding our relationships with the FAA and, you know, trying to reclaim decisions over non-safety, the non-safety elements. You know, I have appreciated listening to Amory and Tom, and I watched 3 hours of the grassroots meeting, and I've read every comment, but, you know, I also sought more information, and I didn't hear anything back from Tom Keogh about his expertise related to which airports have done this, what pathways they've took. So to say that the board hasn't sort of engaged on that just isn't true. And, you know, I don't think that it's an element that has to be part of this document, because I think that our relationship with the FAA will persist and will be an incredibly important element of how we get anything done. And, you know, I have a lot of faith in our community. I have a lot of faith in the power that we hold, in the lucrativeness of our airports, in the power of the voice of our community, in the strength of our constituency to the FAA and the federal government, and also in the nobility of the goals that we are trying to achieve for a safer airport, a cleaner airport, a quieter airport. These are good things that I think we have a lot of strength behind us to negotiate on. And so I believe that moving this forward now sets us up to do that, to get the good things that I think could improve our airport into the future and our service for this community. So thank you. Thanks to everybody in their hard work. Thanks to all of the comments. And I'm going to continue to read them until this thing is put to bed. But please know that, you know, I have really tried to look at this from, you know, the myriad of angles and myriad of concerns and questions. And I thank you all for informing my ability to do that.
Thank you, Kelly. Greg?
Great, thanks, Kelly, and George as well. Yeah, I think I'll pile on. I can say that I'm quite confident that we've listened and responded, and we've worked to get questions answered every step of the way. And to wit, I'm comfortable moving forward today, knowing that we do so with the guardrails we put in place. The important pause, the pause that people have been so passionate about, is really built into this already. I think, you know, there's a pause. It's intrinsic. It's part of the development and change of our airport. The vision of the future of air travel is built into this plan. Because of this, the time it's going to take, I think we're going to have an opportunity to pivot. And I know the FAA will be pivoting and the industry will be pivoting, but they're probably going to be doing it on their own time. But I think, as I said, the pause that's built into this plan is going to help us make the right decisions and move forward at the right time. I think we're going to be creating the airport that's both useful to the community and the resort. We're keeping environmental and community development growth concerns in mind. We do realize, as George says, the status quo of our airport now does not allow for a safer, cleaner, quieter airport by any stretch. It just ain't going to happen with the airport we have now and the air fleet that the industry has decided to fly here, or what they have available to them. And as George says, our obligation is to the citizens of the community at large. That I also want to jump on and thank, you know, the staff that have worked so hard, so tirelessly. I know John Peacock has aged twice as fast as any human should with this process, and so many others of us have as well. And I want to thank the advisors who've come in, and I also want to thank the pundits who've been asking the probing questions and the critics that have prompted our inquiries. and realizing these inquiries are going to be ongoing for the next several years. This ain't it. It's not over yet. And so saying that the community remains part of this ongoing conversation. This is just the next step that's going to move us forward, and I think in a deliberate, discreet way. I liked what John Bennett offered in a recent letter. He said, let's get the legal counsel to provide a simple Q&A on this idea of airport privatization, which seems to be, it doesn't go away, but it would probably be great to have a little more clarity on that. It wouldn't bother me to see that, and if it exists already, maybe I missed it. But I'm comfortable that the privatization thing doesn't seem to be a really viable option to achieve what we've been looking for. The slow walk of the process is the pause we're looking for. I want to stop with one quote that sticks in my head, and it might be hard to connect it to what we're doing right now. It's a quote, one of my favorite quotes from Buckminster Fuller, who said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." And that can be looked at many different ways, but it certainly can be looked at, we're going to have to do the heavy lifting to create a new model for an airport and transportation in our community that will hopefully make the dirtier, less safe, and less quiet aircraft obsolete. And if we can help make that happen, that's great. But we're going to be doing it in a slow, deliberate fashion because we know the airline industry is going to take some time to catch up. Thank you for that. That's all I've got.
Steve?
Okay, thanks, Greg. Patty?
Yeah, I'm not sure quite how to follow those three acts. They've made so many good points, so many points I think the five of us all feel. First off, I want to personally thank staff for their efforts. You guys have done an enormous job. We're not done yet, by the way, but just want to let you know we thank you. And of course, thanking all the public who are involved from all sides and all angles and all opinions. That's what this community is about. It's about the public being involved, the community being involved. This is your community. This is your airport, and it's important that the decisions that are made by the BOCC, those decisions come from a grassroots effort, from grassroots information, from the community. And I think we brought the community in from every aspect for hours and hours, for which I am most grateful. I think we are most grateful for all the different sides of the equation, and where it's just opening up a lot more doors that we're going to have to go through in the future, which I think is a good thing. I want to be very clear that we still have a long way to go. This is just the first step in many steps to follow with more community involvement. We're going to be bringing the community in at every turn because that's what this is about. And as far as it's really hopeful for me that once we start to move forward, we'll be able to start getting the good things done that have come out of this. The greening up of the airport, we've talked about the noise, the emissions, and the electrification of the airport, and the process of building a safer airport is really critically important. But we need to get through this first step so that we can go on to those other good steps. And I don't think we want to postpone that. I don't think we want to pause the good things that we're able to do and get done, but we have to start moving forward in order to do those things. That's critical. My goal, which I can't wait to see sometime in the future, is where we see a new terminal that shows what this community can do and what this community is about. That it's safe, that it's efficient, that it's functionable, and that it's green, and that when the people arrive to this community, they see the nature of the environment around us, and they come through a terminal that echoes that same positive, beautiful experience. And I think those are really, really important points that we need to move forward on. I do thank the people who brought in the different opinions. That's what this is about. When that's what this community does. We get to a really good point because we listen to all sides of an issue. And I think where these documents before us today, that's where we are. And I think that's critical to move this forward. We do have a second reading. We do have more public comment. And then we'll move on to wherever we go from the 16th when we have our second reading. And we'll take those first most important steps. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. And now you had 3 people with really good comments to follow. Now I have 4 people with very good comments. I'm not going to try to repeat all of the thoughts that I have because everybody spoke well to the issues. I want to talk about the vision of the airport because this is a vision document that was provided for us by the community. And the vision, it doesn't say exactly where the airport is going to end up, but it does say what the process is going to be going forward. And that process is going to involve, at every step of the way, a lot more public involvement, public decision making. The vision I see for the airport, and I come from an airline company family. My dad worked for Continental Airlines, and I rode on all these little DC-3s and Convaires and different planes that are long since obsolete in my lifetime. And I can see nothing but a bright future for the future of aviation once we get through all of this pandemic. The airline companies are always trying to come up with something that is more efficient, more fuel efficient, more comfortable for the passengers, safer for the passengers. And those are the aircraft that we want to have landing at our airport. So much has been spoken about the CRJ 700. And I think a letter that John Bennett wrote to us just real recently spoke about the CRJ 700. It is really not the plane that we want to end up being the plane landing here at our airport and carrying people here, because the CRJ 700 is really noisy. It really smells bad, and there are better aircraft out there that we would rather have coming to our airport. At some point in time, there will be electric and hybrid electric airplanes landing here. The first ones that come will just be little private ones that maybe are 6-passenger kind of planes. But I think those will be game changers for the environment around the airport and for people flying here, because they're going to be quiet. They're not going to smell like jet fuel. Eventually, there will be ones that will carry 50 to maybe even 100 people. They probably won't be all electric. I think they would be hybrid electric, having a small engine running to charge batteries probably, or else running off of hydrogen fuel cells like the Airbus company is working on right now. But these planes are going to be quieter. They're going to be much more fuel efficient. I look forward to the day when people walking in our open air jetways from the terminal to their plane can smell fresh air and not be smelling jet fuel, which is what you smell if you're around the airport now. I look forward to the day when the people living in West Buttermilk and at the ABC don't have their houses shake from planes taking off, because things will be quieter. It's going to smell much better in all the way from Cemetery Lane to Aspen Village. I think things are going to be much better in the future, and that's the vision that the Vision Committee presented to us. That's where we are headed. The document that we're looking at approving on first reading today is a blueprint for how we can get there, the process for how we can get there. And I look forward to that process. I look forward to having future discussions about, what we all see as the vision for where our airport is headed. So leave it at that. We will all have another chance to give another spiel in a couple of weeks. Bring it back to the board. We need to have a motion of some type for approving the resolution on first reading.
Steve, it looks
Patty.
like there's another comment that came in late. I don't know if we want to accept it since we did close the public comment period, or refer them to submitting comments in writing or to attending our meeting on the 16th, but there's a raised hand, I just noticed it. I don't know if you saw it. I don't know how the board wants to address this. So have them come back in on the 16th. I see from George's nod and shake. Or submit written comment no later than the 11th by noon. So we're sorry that we didn't see their comment, that they didn't get online sooner in order to comment today.
Yeah, no, I did close it for today. I would ask that person to, write to us with your comments and be present if you're able on the 16th. We really did close the public comment period for today, and I'm going to stick with that.
Okay.
Unless the board overrules me and says, let's hear the person.
We've got more opportunities.
They still have 2 more opportunities to comment, so I'm gonna stick with our process here.
Okay, then Steve, I'll make a motion, if that's okay with the rest of the board, for first reading.
Yeah.
Set for a public hearing and second reading on December the 16th. This is a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Pickens County, Colorado, approving, quote, Pickens County Board of Commissioners amendments and additions to the ASC, which is our Aspen Airport, Vision Committee Common Ground recommendations and airport map for the Aspen-Pickens County Airport.
I'll second.
Moved by Patty, seconded by Kelly, to approve on first reading. Are there further comments from the commissioners? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Okay, 5-0 approval. Thank you, staff, and thank you, BOCC. Thanks to the public for all of your input. No matter which side you are on, we are still listening to your comments and hearing you. You might not think so right now, but we really are. So, thank you. We're going to move on to one more item on our meeting today is open discussion. Juan Peacock.
Yeah, all of you should have received a draft letter regarding the Northwest Colorado Small Business Development Council EDA Sprint Challenge application, grant match commitment. Actually, I think, am I looking at the right one?
Yeah. That's the one I have.
So this is funding that we actually have included in the 2021 budget. It's $15,000 for the Northwest Small Business Development. Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. Do I need to start over?
Sure. Just
Okay.
start
Sorry
over.
about that.
You.
So at any rate, all of you should have had a draft letter regarding the Northwest Colorado Small Business Development Corporation EDA Sprint Challenge application, grant match commitment. Typically, this is a letter that we would issue after a formal appropriation has been concluded. The match for this grant has been included in the 2021 budget, which you approved on first reading today. So I just want permission to sign this and get it in on deadline, anticipating that the appropriation won't change going forward.
I'm okay with it. I will.
I don't think I got it.
Oh, you didn't? Might
I
have
didn't,
come
I
from
didn't see it,
Charlotte.
but I think
I
I
didn't-
approve.
I didn't get it either, but I'm fine with
I have it right
moving
here.
forward.
Can you see it? It's right here. It's really well written.
I don't know how to share it with you. I apologize. I think it came out from Charlotte.
Well, it's a 3-paragraph, well-written document supporting this grant.
Can you all take Patty's word for it?
Trust me.
I'm sorry.
And I would,
Match for,
I would, go ahead, Kelly.
how much is the match for this grant that we've already budgeted?
It's 15,000.
Okay, okay. Thanks.
So I'm giving John your
Also,
approval.
I have a lot. John Stabney, the head of Northwest Colorado Council of Governments, very well respected, well-spoken person, and anything he has a hand in,
This
I
is
would
different than that.
pay attention.
This is a small business.
Yeah, this
So,
is small.
I'm
This
good.
is a small business, not a Northwest cog, but they work together.
And so it's actually
They
an
do.
application for 150,000, which requires 30,000 in local match, and we're applying between Eagle County and Pitkin County.
Is this the one that's gonna be set up in Basalt?
Yes.
Okay.
It's that effort at the
Yep.
Basalt Chamber building by the Basalt Town Hall.
Sorry for
Yeah,
the
no,
confusion.
Yeah.
You
that's
got
great.
it, Kelly.
Okay, well, I'll take that as authorization. Then the only other open discussion would be to wish George a happy birthday
Oh,
this
right.
coming Saturday. Is that
And Rye.
And Rye, and a belated
And
cake to you
Rye.
both.
Happy birthday, George and Rye.
I think Rye's younger, George.
I don't think so.
I do have one thing, Steve.
That's the spirit.
Patty?
Yeah, I think you'll all remember when we had the sudden closing of Independence Pass due to the fire in Glenwood Canyon. We had some issues and comments that came out of the Garfield County Commissioners. And the question that I brought forward, why didn't they just directly call us before going to the press? So I got to thinking about it this afternoon, thinking, do we want to make an effort to speak with the Garfield County Commissioners as to how Garfield County is responding to the COVID crisis and the state's metrics and the coronameter, and how we might be able to work together? Because we seem to have some differences of opinion with them, and rather than just keep vetting that in the public without talking to them directly. I know we've been working well with their public health department, but we as commissioners have not reached out to the commissioners in Garfield County and said, what can we do to resolve these issues? And I remember saying that during the closing of the pass, that maybe the best thing to do is to speak to them directly.
Kelly?
Yeah, I'm always, that's a good idea, Patty. I'm always happy to have those direct conversations. It might be a tough one to have. Additionally, I think we did hear that they weren't super interested in the conversation about the path either, the follow-up to that, to try and bring all the partners together to better coordinate on how we might handle it in the future. So revisiting that topic with them could also be on the table.
So I don't know how best to achieve this conversation. Chair to chair, for starters, maybe. So Kelly, if you're lucky, we can get Steve to do it before the 1st of next year. Or Steve, you might want to appoint your vice chair, and 2 of us can go. We could be on the conference call, or we just, however you guys want to work it out, I think would be a great place to start. And they may not be receptive to it, but at least we put the best foot forward. And we're gonna try and work as a valley here, because again, like wildfires know no jurisdictional boundaries, neither does COVID.
I said yesterday, I'm not afraid of anything anymore.
I thought I'd throw a new one at you.
So I do think this would be appropriate for board-to-board outreach, and so Steve and Kelly, maybe it'd be appropriate for you two to coordinate and do an outreach to the chair in Garfield County and see if there's an opportunity for a conversation.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, board.
Who is the chair right now? Do you know?
I gotta look it up. I can't remember. Is it
John
Martin?
Isn't John always the chair?
John Martin. Yes, and he is the chair now. We actually saw John Martin at CCI on Monday for the first time. I had seen him in a couple of years, seeing him virtually on the computer screen, but he had not been attending CCI things all of last year in person.
Interesting.
And so all of their commissioners were at the CCI business meeting on Monday afternoon.
Hey, Steve.
Greg?
I think it's very timely. Thanks for bringing it up. I had a question from Matt at the Daily News today about, how often do we talk to the fellow commissioners? And I was trying to remember our last in-person meeting with the Garco commissioners and with Eagle County. I know we do it about once a year.
We did do it
but with the
last year.
pandemic, it threw my schedule off, and honestly, I couldn't remember exactly when we last met with them. But I know outreach and communication with them is important, and I think that'll probably be the subject of an article tomorrow in the paper. So I don't know if Matt's listening, but he's got new information here.
I think Matt might be listening. I don't know. I spoke with him earlier too, but this was something I've been thinking about.
So Kelly and I will take it upon ourselves to write a draft letter or write a letter reaching out to them. I think eventually, we'd want to talk about some issues in a joint meeting with them. It'd be great if we could do something in person sometime, but for the near future, I think it would have to be virtually.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking outside of that. I'm thinking maybe because of the timeliness of this issue, that maybe reaching out to them and wanting to speak directly now, or in some manner with them about the responses we're having with COVID. I think there's other issues we can put off for a joint meeting, but I don't want to wait till we can organize a joint meeting. I think we need to see if we can resolve some of the differences, or at least agree to. We're going to disagree, but I think it's a step we need to take sooner than later.
And then to that end, I was given direction yesterday to draft a letter, around consistency with the state. And so I think while we can't comment on it electronically, I think it'd be good for me to get a draft out to the board so you can see what direction it's going ahead of Steve and Kelly having those discussions, so we're on the same page with the flavor of that messaging.
And I have a Northwest COG meeting tomorrow morning, and I will bring it up that we are working on this, and once we have a cleaner draft or whatever, I will disseminate it to Northwest COG. Again, time is of concern, and we would like to try and turn it around sooner than later. And I think Kelly will still do the thing with CCAT, and I think the mayor has offered to do it with CAST. So to get more signatures across at least the western slope, but maybe along the Front Range for counties and municipalities that didn't sign on to that letter by the mayors. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Yeah, John, that'd be good if you could get the draft of that out to us, and
I will get it out to you.
Any other board discussion?
Yeah, I'll get it out to you before I leave today. It may be a draft, but you'll have something.
Draft, okay. Okay. Thank you, board, for a good day today. We passed two things today, one on second reading, one on first reading, that we've been working on for a really long time. the Sewell Ranch property and the Airport Vision Committee process. Those are both really huge things. So, job well done today. I'm looking for a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second. I was hoping George would make that motion.
I know, he's
All in
got a few
favor of
more he
adjourning,
can
say
make.
Aye.
Aye.
Hi, thank you. Thanks,
See you all
Grassroots.
soon.
Thanks, Terry.
Take care.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, George.